Friday Night Frisbee presented by Pabst Light, coming to you from Houston, Texas. We are here at SaberCat Stadium. Week 2 of the Ultimate Frisbee Association's 2025 season gets rolling here with the Madison Radicals and the Houston Havoc meeting for the first time ever. This interdivisional matchup, one of 2 games on this Week 2 Friday night. Welcome to our broadcast booth, everybody. Evan Lepler, delighted to be back alongside Ian Toner. Ian, a wild Week 1 in the books. Philadelphia with the biggest upset. We saw New York and D.C. both lose on opening weekend. And now we move on to Week 2, 11 games on the slate, including this interdivisional battle, Madison, the Texas two-step, starting with Houston tonight.
Yeah, I think this is another opportunity for a lot of teams. More reps. And so I'm expecting to see this group take the field. Okay, yeah, last week, frustrating, unfortunate, not what we wanted, but that's also not who we are. We're going to come out here and execute and make those simple catches and make those swing passes that we've been working on in training camp in much windier conditions than this.
First game of the weekend for the Madison Radicals. They play at Austin tomorrow. It's nice to be able to watch the 2 teams that you're playing this weekend go head-to-head in Week 1. But I mentioned this is just one of the 11 games on tap this weekend. The biggest game of the weekend is arguably the South Division showdown in Atlanta. We saw the Hustle outduel the Salt Lake Shred, who played nearly a pristine game, but the Hustle were even better. It's the season opener for Carolina, who, if you may remember, last year in the playoffs went to Atlanta and denied the Hustle championship weekend yet again. What are your expectations for the top 2 teams in the South Division squaring off tomorrow night?
I wish I could be there in person. My expectation is that it's going to be another knockdown, drag-out fight. Carolina may not have the strongest roster that it's going to hope to have at its final form later in the season. But if Atlanta's offense is executing any way similar to the way it did against Salt Lake, that group is going to be really, really difficult to slow down. And I'm expecting them to push that into a shootout-style matchup.
Atlanta trying to get to 2-0 tomorrow against Carolina. Remember, the Flyers are in the game of the week next week, too, against the D.C. Breeze, who are sitting in the cellar right now in the East Division, which is stunning because many folks, including myself, said that the Breeze deserved to be considered the preseason favorite, not just in the East, but for the entire league. And yet there they are at 0-1. The Philadelphia Phoenix, the Hotbirds, surprising everybody. What was your first thought? You were doing the Colorado game last Saturday night.
Right.
I'm sure you saw the score at some point during a break. Your first reaction was what?
I can't believe this. Like, DC, are you not going to get it together? And this is no shade to the Hotbirds. I've just seen history repeat itself with that program. And kudos to them stepping up and actually executing with the opportunity. Granted, DC did have to cough up a potential game-tying score in the final minute to make that possible. I think, we've talked quite a bit about how Johnny Malks is not there anymore. Tymon wasn't available that game. And I don't know that we've made a big enough deal about losing some of the defensive playmakers like Troy Holland and how much that impacts them. Granted, the story was, hey, their offense wasn't able to execute, but that's another piece of this DC team that's been so integral to its success over time as we take a look at some more of these highlights.
Yeah,
here.
One of the many great defensive plays that Philadelphia made in this high turnover game. It was 16-12 before the Breeze made this late run. And, one of the Phoenix players told me, in the past, maybe we would only been up 14-12 and we would have blown it. But we had more of a cushion this time. And, they knew they got lucky at the end of regulation. Pretty incredible for DC to get back in this within one with 45 seconds to go. And David Brandoff, the new head coach of the Phoenix, did assure me that they will be practicing, the Phoenix will be practicing sideline double teams this week because that was a source of struggle late in the game. And again, if you missed it, here's the final sequence. A.J. Merriman sees Theo Shapinski and a doinker with 16 seconds to go. 2 completions later, the shocking upset was complete. The looks on the DC sideline tell you what you need to know. And the Phoenix, look at Sean Mott on his knees in the end zone. David Brandolph, who played for this franchise back in the early days, over a decade ago. What a story. And now we get to see how both these teams respond. DC has Toronto at home in the first game of the season for the Rush. And then Philly gets the fatigued Toronto squad on Sunday afternoon with a quick turnaround.
And I think I saw Mark Lloyd was inactive last I checked for Toronto, but I think that group has the potential, if they're at full strength later in the season, to do some real damage. I think this is incredible scheduling in Philly's favor for them to face this Toronto squad on the second day of the back-to-back.
Well, that's a look at some of the big games coming up as we steer you back to the start of this one. Beck's fourth, entering her third year as the head coach of this Houston Havoc team. And Beck's, just a fascinating person to talk Frisbee with. She's been around the sport since she was 19 years old, kind of stumbled across the World Championships in England in 1994, and has become one of the international faces of the sport over the last 3 decades. Now here in Texas, trying to build a program. And it's really fascinating to hear members of the Havoc talk about how important she is and how much trust they have in her. We caught up with Ben Lewis earlier today. Let's hear what one of the captains and veterans of this Houston team had to say about tonight's game and about his coach, Beck's fourth.
Ben Lewis, number 7 for the Houston Havoc, or also known as eBay. Got to play on the Soul the first year. It was great. Great to get the feet wet in the Pro League, just completely different game. Then I spent 6 years with Dallas, and then was actually not going to play anymore until I got approached by Sean McCall, our GM and part owner, and he was like, hey, we're actually going to start the Houston Havoc a year early, and we want you to be a part of it. And I told him the whole situation, and he was just like, no, we want to build the roster around you and some of these other veteran guys in Houston because we're tired of y'all traveling and leaving the city. And so I was like, okay, gave it some thought and was like, it would be nice to not have to drive 4 hours to go to practice and get to play in front of my friends and family down here. I've played Madison in the championship game before, but that was back in, 2019, 2018. I don't remember when it was, but they were good. I always remember them being very big, always having a great zone, and knowing Tim is still part of the coaching staff. I'm sure we're going to see that zone again. The way Bex has our offense structured, it helps us where everyone can freely flow from the cutter space to the handler space, which will help attack, different looks, man, bracket, or zone that Madison could throw at us.
On the grand stage, huge bid, gets the touch.
Great opportunity for the Germans, and they break with ease.
Throw it the full 80 yards to the field. Are you kidding me? And an incredible catch. You are kidding me. Oh my God! Throw like a pro with a new Pro Ultimate Frisbee. Created with input from the sport's premier passers, the Pro Frisbee is specially designed to fly through the wind and maintain its edge. Experience the official Frisbee of the UFA and get yours at shopufa.com today. Week 2 of the 2025 journey takes us to Texas, where the Houston Havoc look to turn up the heat on the visiting Madison Radicals. It's a critical early season game for two teams determined to take another huge step forward in their respective divisions. So settle in for another unpredictable weekend of Ultimate. And it all starts next here on Friday Night Frisbee, presented by Pabst Light. Well, it's going to be a wet one tonight here in Houston, Texas. Welcome to SaberCats Stadium. There have been thunderstorms in the forecast throughout the day, and the skies have just moments ago opened up here in Houston. The Madison Radicals making their 2025 season debut. The Houston Havoc looking to get in the win column after a disappointing home opener, a 30-23 loss to the Austin Soul last Friday night. This one of 2 games on this Friday, one of 11 games here in Week 2 in the Ultimate Frisbee Association. Good evening and welcome, everybody, to Friday Night Frisbee, presented by Pabst Light with Ian Toner. I am Evan Lepler, and Ian, this is a matchup we have never seen before. These are 2 teams that have high variance. These are strange conditions. This is going to be a wacky evening, I got a hunch.
At the very least, these teams have to take pride in knowing that they have the opportunity to assert themselves in the division tonight. Madison has a chance to say, hey, it's not just Minnesota you have to worry about. It's not just Chicago. It's also Madison. And Houston has been itching and begging and clawing to try and earn a victory against anybody outside of the Dallas franchise that folded. This is one of their great opportunities to do that.
Let's start with the Madison Radicals. This is a team that has basically turned over from the squad that won a championship in 2018 and the core of stars that they had for so many years. But they got a new offensive backfield, Kai Marcus and Kai DiLorenzo, that they're going to lean on tonight with new head coach Jacob Spiro taking over for Tim DeBiles.
Yeah, it's going to be really important for them to develop chemistry, not only between themselves, but also familiarity with the rest of their O-line pieces, understanding that, hey, we may be building our identity throughout the season, but we can't let a few turnovers in a point discourage us or make us check out or get our O-line to stop playing defense. We need to build that consistency and that familiarity and resiliency.
And on the other sideline, Bexforth wasn't ripping up everything they did in the preseason process, but they feel that if they can just improve the fundamentals tonight, they'll be in pretty good shape.
Yeah, one of those keys is when you're attacking downfield, initiate your continue cuts as soon as possible. And when you've continued, when you've made that next cut, don't clog the active throwing lane. Make space for your teammate and get out of that area. The other part of this is the other side of the ball. When you're playing defense, you're trying to establish the force and set a mark, and it's not as simple as, okay, I just want to make sure they throw a forehand or I just want to make sure they throw a backhand. Hey, if you're on the sideline, are you shifting all the way around to take away the around option? If you're in the middle of the field, are you challenging the inside a little more? They have specific calls and sets for that, and Bexforth and the rest of the staff want the team to be smart about adapting and evolving on the mark.
Disc in the hands of Zach Cotter, who is about ready to get us rolling here from SaberCats Stadium in Texas. Madison beginning the game on offense, and off we go from SaberCats Stadium on a windy, rainy Friday night. Pole sails just wide, and Kai Marcus, the former University of North Carolina star, begins what is technically his 4th season as a Radical, but he got hurt after 2 games in 22, did not play at all in 23. And then last year was kind of his first full season when he got his feet wet. Now he's got to deal with these conditions at the outset today.
35 assists in 8 games played last season. You know he's got the potential to be productive and threatening. The question is, can he sharpen his decision-making?
Anthony Gutowski just got his first touch coming off a 53-goal season a year ago. And we got a call against the Radicals. Ted Shuey will walk backwards 10 yards. To the middle of the field, Gutowski. Set a Radicals single-season record with the 53 goals last year. Now Kelson Alexander connects with Max Sample, who is questionable coming into today. Tweaked his knee in the scrimmage the Radicals had last week against Minnesota, but clearly he's good to go. Gabe Vordick with a rising stall count. Requires a layout from Alexander in the backfield, and then Vordick does a nice job milking the disc to the end zone. And again, a late double team, and it's a pick downfield, and it's going to be a high stall count coming in for Vordick. They're asking, was the pick before the throw, and it was. Two minutes already gone here in the opening quarter on the first possession of the game, and another layout from Alexander, and up the line, a leaping score. It's Gabe Vordick as the Radicals deliver a lengthy marathon, but ultimately clean hold.
You know, that offense almost reminded me of some of the offense that we saw Kai Marcus's college rivals Brown run quite a bit in their successes over the last several years at the men's college level. Just a lot of initiation off the front of the stack with the handlers, understanding in the wind and the rain that maybe longer throws are going to be a little more challenging, and just trying to rely on the higher percentage stuff closer and in that more compact space near the disc at the front of the stack. And I'll be interested to see if the Havoc defenders adjust their body positioning and make the Radicals receivers go through their bodies on future O points to try and attack that space.
An excellent opening pull forces Jimmy Zura to face pressure in the back of his end zone. A potential Callahan. It's on the ground. It's a great block, and a Radical is down. A tremendous D laying out full extension, but the resumption of play will be paused. That's Luke Marks flying in for the soaring D on Kyle Kalafa.
Yeah, incredible anticipation and willingness to sacrifice the body. You could see the impact there, just coming down hard on his right shoulder.
So now on the restart, centering pass, and into the end zone it goes. It's a quick break for the Radicals. Noah Chunmoy, a Madison native, has had quite a journey through his UFA career from New York to Oregon to Philly. Finally, he's playing for his hometown team, and he's got his first goal as a Radical.
Yeah, the Ulti-World Defensive Player of the Year at the college level back in his Air Force days in 2018 and 2019. What an incredible story to see him back playing with his hometown team, and he's a real spark plug who's capable of bringing the energy in that defensive handler space, but they're also going to trust him to play some Owen over the course of the year.
In the beginning of the story for Chunmoy and the Radicals goes way back before his Air Force days. He tried out for Madison as a high school senior, and they liked him, and they almost took him, but he was leaving town, and his journey has brought him back to representing Madison.
No surprise to see a zone coming here from Madison on this second D point of the game for the Radicals.
Bump called against Mac Weber. Disc in the hands of Houston's Mark Baldoff, who had played every game in Houston history until last week. He missed the season opener coming back from a hamstring. This is another foul.
That's nice work there by Cameron Albin, just using his fake to open up positioning and step through the mark and get the disc off the trap situation as quickly as possible.
This Radicals double team, Ian, is different than what most teams throw. And for Houston, they're going to have to carefully navigate it. Disc back in the hands of Albin, working near the goal line, along with Stephen Kelly. The rain coming down here in Houston. And the Havoc are on the board. It's the third-year captain of the Havoc, Brendan Adams, in the end zone.
Really impressed with the Havoc poise there. A couple of big bodies on the mark, setting double teams multiple times. This O-line is missing Matt Bennett, and this group still unafraid to throw into tight windows, to go over the top when needed, and the conditions may become more adverse as this game goes on. We mentioned the rain's coming down harder, the wind is picking up, but that was a really confident response from that group after the first throw turnover on the previous O point.
Jimmy Zura pulling through the pounding rain here at SaberCat Stadium. Pull was both thrown and caught by UNC Darkside alums. Layout near the sideline by Gabe Vordick, maintaining possession for Madison. Jack Nelson. There's Matt Grindy. Shuey sees Gutowski going. Back of the end zone, incomplete. Fraction of an inch out of Gutowski's grasp, and a break chance for Houston.
There's no doubt the space and the separation was there. Just missed execution, trying to send Gutowski to the back line. And Madison, no surprise with the transition zone here after that turnover.
There's a lot of experience on this Houston D-line, including Chase Cunningham. Ben Lewis is out there. Jimmy Zuraz played a lot of center handler for O-lines throughout his career. Bexforth does not really believe in having an O-line and having a D-line. She's got two lines that they mix and match over the course of the game. She expects everybody to be able to do everything.
And the Madison defense, which started out in that initial zone look, has transitioned back into man matchups.
Can Houston work it all the way down the field? Yes! In the end zone, it's Ben Lewis to tie this game up midway through the first.
We're all tied up 2-2. Evan coming back out on D.
First 40-goal season of his career last year. It's almost like he just gets better with age, like a fine wine, as we get another look at this phenomenal grab from Gabe Vordick to save possession earlier in the point for Madison. But, I mean, Ben Lewis is just an inspiration to the rest of his teammates and the rest of this program. I'm not trying to praise this behavior, but he played through an injured shoulder all last season. You know, different guys have different pain tolerances and understanding what their bodies can take, but he sets the standard with his work ethic, his commitment, the energy he brings on the field and on the sideline. Havoc are lucky to have him as an example to follow.
So each team with a hold and a break. Madison jumps out 2-0. Houston responds, and that disc snared fortuitously by McCarthy. Chun Moy back to McCarthy, the veteran Josh Wilson, and he's hand blocked. Canceled on that throw, looking for the middle of the field, cleanly swatted down by Caden Burks.
Yeah, kind of telegraphed that, stepping across his body and throwing the backhand when he could have stepped out and thrown a forehand.
So a chance for Houston to make it 3 in a row and take their first lead of the night. Toya Chukwuemere gets it back to Grove, and Houston swings it around. Connor Ugetta feeds it underneath. This is Adams. Now to the middle, Ugetta again. Unmarked for the moment. Scuber through the wind and the rain, and it's an incredible layout catch for a score! Just barely staying in bounds to give the Havoc the lead. What a play by Adams.
I'm so impressed by what I'm seeing as we get another look there. J-Dub just kind of telegraphing that pass. And then how about the grab there from Adams? I think the officials got that call right.
Absolutely. Credit where credit is due.
And, you know, I'm not going to lie, that first O point for Houston that resulted in the turnover and the quick score for Madison, I was worried that we might be in for a long night. And their response over these subsequent points has really, really impressed me. Now it's just a matter of how long they can continue to hang at that level.
Some contact there against Kai DiLorenzo. I mean, Ian, when you watch Ultimate played in these conditions, as we see, they hammered near the goal line for Gutowski, and he's point blocked, and then he catches it in bounds. Not in the end zone, though. Looking to squeeze it through. A dump or a swing would be grand, and Madison gets it back to Marcus. What a sequence there from Gutowski. You do not see that very often. Catching the disc after you got rejected on the throw, and now a foul called on Houston. I said it was going to be a wacky night.
Not wrong so far.
And there's Gutowski showing the breakaway speed. 3-all, 3:37 to go in the first. Ian, did you enjoy playing in conditions like this?
This was the opposite of what I wanted to be playing in. As we get another look at that really heads-up reaction from Gutowski. I was not a fan of this. Experiences like these drove me for a certain stretch of my career to play with gloves no matter what. Whether it was wet, dry, warm, cold, just to try and get as close to a consistent experience and never be thrown off by stepping out onto the field in a game like this and having to get a different feel in my hand.
The wind is really picking up now. You can see the Havoc banners hanging on the light poles, whipping violently.
Yeah, 22 miles an hour is what we're clocking right now.
Bexforth said that they practiced in a lot of wind like this in the preseason and played really well. Oh, what a layout block there! Intercepted by Madison, and it's Mitchell McCarthy. Radicals look to retake the lead. Luke Marks had the first layout on the opening deep point for Madison. And that throw into the ground from Jake Carrico, looking in the middle of the field. So Madison resets the double team. And this is pretty ridiculous stuff that these players are working through right now. Shout out to all of our camera operators as well, and the officials, everybody wearing this. That disc floating in the air. Players diving both ways for it. There was certainly some contact, and it looks like Tyler Reinhardt slow to get up for Houston.
I mean, it feels like...
Beg your pardon, Ian. That's Connor Ugetta, number 12, not number 2, Tyler Reinhardt.
Nice block there. And you can see the contact as it came down. It feels like, you know, the Madison D-line offense has the disc traveling in the upwind direction right now. And it feels like any score going in this direction is somewhat of a backbreaker, given how stiff the head-on wind might be.
Joe Leap forth, and that throw finds the ground. Houston in no hurry to create a transition break. This is Reinhardt. Tyler scored 5 goals against his old team, Austin, last weekend. Under 2 minutes to play in the first. And to the open space, it's brought in for the Havoc score, Stephen Kelly. What a point.
I mean, that's a prime example of why Mitchell McCarthy was a second-team all-defense selection and most improved player runner-up last season. You can see what he's capable of when he gets a chance to pursue his man closely and hunt the disc. And I'm telling you, I'm just so impressed with the depth of this Houston squad stepping up with these opportunities. Stephen Kelly with the score there, and now pressure goes squarely back on Madison.
With Baldoff and Dalton Smith, just two veteran handlers adding into the lineup from last week. Chase Cunningham as well, obviously, who's out there on D here. But those two pieces that they didn't have last week that
Sure.
they add in tonight, just game-changing for the Havoc in so many ways.
Yeah.
Especially in conditions like this.
But and it's funny because when you look at some of those scores, I wasn't seeing Dalton quarterback the team and have to put it on his back.
Yeah.
So there's no doubt it's great to have him, and he's a luxury, and you can depend on him. But I'm seeing other parts of this roster shoulder the load there.
Chukwuemeka on the mark against Jack Nelson. Vertical stack downfield, and from the front of the stack, it's incomplete. Looking for Grindy, cutting that front pylon. Final minute of the first. If Houston could just hold the disc and not let Madison score going in this direction, even if they don't score themselves, it would be a victory.
Totally agree. And at the same time, if Madison can just keep these throwers pinned on this sideline here.
And it is a turnover, and the Radicals still have plenty of time, 45 seconds. Marcus with a big backhand fake. This is Kai DiLorenzo. Lefties it downfield, a little too casual.
And it's funny, as you're going downwind, sometimes the offhand backhand can be the easier throw to execute than the flick. But at the same time, if you're going to opt for that offhand backhand, you got to be confident in it.
Mark Turner with a booming backhand over Chukwuemeka and intercepted by Alexander. And into the hands of Marcus with 7 seconds, looking crossfield for the end zone, and he connects. Jack Nelson is there with 3 seconds left in the opening quarter. That's what Kai Marcus can do for you.
I mean, there's no doubt he's got a bag. There's no doubt he can rip it into the wind. As we get another look at multiple of these turnovers. Cunningham with a high stall situation, very little option but to try there. And how about Kelson Alexander, perhaps the smallest person in that whole grouping, coming in there to clean up the trash, and then Marcus just unlocking a corner of the field that many other throwers would find inaccessible in these awkward, windy, rainy conditions.
It's a good roller pull, but Houston hasn't touched it. Scuber is going to be well short, and they didn't get it off. Houston does not get it off. The result doesn't matter. It's intercepted anyway by Alex Gravatt. Well, 1 down, 3 to go. The rain's fallen. The highlights are flowing here on Friday Night Frisbee, presented by Pabst Light.
Are you kidding me? Goes up above everyone.
Do it like that. Do it like that. Do it like that.
Spain, Portugal, Sweden, Norway, Finland, Estonia, Latvia.
It's not a beautiful night here in Houston, and yet it was an aesthetically pleasing first quarter from our dry confines here in the booth, Ian Toner. Pretty action-packed 12 minutes of Frisbee.
I've been so impressed with Houston's depth, Houston's resilience, and Madison has certainly left some opportunities on the table with 1 quarter down.
12 minutes in, Madison with 6 turnovers, Houston with 5. Houston has 2 breaks to Madison's 0. Or to Madison's 1, I should say. Madison got the break on the opening D point they played. And they're looking for a second break here with the wind at their backs. Houston going into the gusting breeze. And Cunningham rips it, looking for Kalafa. It's a Houston hold, but it feels like a consequential break going in this direction to start the second.
I mean, this is just Kalafa's second competitive ultimate game ever.
I think you mean season, but yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can't believe how efficiently he and the rest of this group is executing right now.
Well, in the words of Bexforth, he has some natural instincts and some unnatural speed. He played 11 games last year. Look at these guys. That's passion. That's what you love to see.
We got to get him swapped around.
They're not playing for us. They're playing for the crowd.
Yeah.
They got to stay dry, otherwise that paint is going to wash off and get pretty messy.
That's true.
So Cunningham to Kalafa. Madison begins from the back of their end zone here early in the second quarter. Don't want to overlook that throw from Cunningham into the wind either. Not too many players in the league could have put it as nicely as he did.
Agreed. I mean, if I'm a Houston defender right now, I'm standing 2 yards under every single receiving option.
You see what the wind's doing. Sets up the block from Burt, his second D of the half. Picked up by Reinhardt, and the huge bid from Burt would have been sweet for the bookends, but unsuccessful.
Still, once again, flat mark, stand 2 yards under your receiving target. And I dare Madison to find a way to complete a pass in this. I want to see that first throw can't get off.
Is it more about the mark or more about the placement of the defense downfield?
More, I want to see more cheating from the downfield defense because this wind is vicious.
Sample just across midfield.
I don't understand how anyone isn't standing under Alexander there. Just don't let any of these guys come under. You're not going to get beat deep. The disc is just going to hang and float, and it's going to be a dog pile.
Alexander with a big swing. Chukwuemere-Jay's bid on McCarthy, on Nelson, excuse me, comes up empty. And Madison does punch it in. Max Sample scores the goal for the Radicals to tie it up at 5.
I mean, that feels kind of like a get-out-of-jail point for Madison. This was a golden opportunity for Houston to take the lead on that downwind goal line, and their defense just lets Madison march it up the field in this aggressive headwind.
You saw that last throw. Nelson gets the assist, but that was not a crisp forehand by any means.
Not at all. I know this Houston coaching staff is gonna tweak and adjust, and they really just got to work on their downfield defenders' positioning when they have receivers attacking that upwind headwind direction.
Pretty good game through the first 10 points. 14 minutes and change into Friday Night Frisbee. Here to launch week 2 in the UFA. Madison zone. Doesn't create a turnover on that throw, but Houston's going backwards into their own end zone. Zuroff finds a gap to Lewis.
Love the misdirection with where he was looking to open up that throwing lane. Really expert move there from Zurov.
Houston does get the whistle. Madison slows the momentum, but a free 10 yards in this wind and these conditions are not nothing. Again, Cunningham. Has Dalton Smith on the sideline. Dalton, certainly an experienced handler in these types of situations. To the end zone, it's incomplete. Or do we have a foul? We definitely have a whistle. And we're going to get an integrity rule on the interference call, and it will be Madison's disc. So now Madison a break chance, but going downwind. Mac Weber back for Noah Chunmoy, around for Josh Wilson.
Whatever you do, Madison, don't turn it over on this half of the field. If you got a high stall and a questionable swing, I'd opt for the full field bailout over that.
And Jacob Spyro, for the first time as the Radicals head coach, calls for a timeout. Disc at midfield, 7:56 to go in the second. Radicals will get their O-line on the field. See Tim DeBile, now the defensive coordinator for this team. Ben Gagne-Maynard, the OC. And a reminder of can't miss games coming up tomorrow night, the game of the week in Atlanta. It's the Flyers in the Hustle. Rematch of last season's South Division final, which the Flyers won by a single goal. Another playoff rematch on Friday Night Frisbee next weekend. Back to the Bay Area we go for the Oakland Spiders and the Seattle Cascades. They also play tomorrow in Seattle on Watch UFA TV. Ian Toner, Katie Killebrew will have the call for the Cascades and Spiders next Friday night. And then I will be in Durham for the Breeze and the Flyers for the game of the week 8 days from now. Some early season urgency. And
I thought for sure that was a foul there.
Ruled clean, no major argument from the
Carolina
Radicals.
on Carolina crime.
Yeah. Speaking of Carolina, we're going to get another timeout. Yes, we are. Houston gives us the second timeout of the point. This point began with 9:53 to play in this second quarter. Beck's fourth, her third season as head coach. Like a lot of players, she's telling about how she couldn't throw that well when she started. She was a defender and a zone cutter, and then, she'd been playing Ultimate for less than a year before she played World Championships back in the mid-90s. Keys to victory tonight, these really factor in for both teams, don't they?
No doubt, consistency, resiliency, and a extremely variable, challenging condition, potentially high turnover game, but I'm impressed. I know we still got 7 minutes and change left to go here in the second quarter, but 15 turns, given all this wind, that's still reasonable.
All right, after the second time out of the point, looking to the back corner of the end zone, and it will land incomplete.
That was really ambitious there.
Aggressive throw by Dalton Smith with a stall count rising, intended for Jimmy Zuroff. Taking your advice and just launching it deep is Chunmoy versus Smith, and Dalton gets the block. He's 32, he'll turn 33 in November. He's gotten a lot of big Ds throughout his UFA career. I was thinking earlier this week about the end of that South Division Championship game when he denied Nethercutt the equalizer right near the front pylon. And speaking of a veteran making a play, Josh Wilson on the goal line, and then it's dropped in the end zone. My goodness. Alex Gravatt Unable to bring in the short laser from Wilson. There could be a mini documentary about this point. In the steady rainfall here in Houston.
Another expert no-look through the zone throw by Jimmy Zuraw. And there's another one that Smith has to bobble but keeps up. The whole Madison sideline thought that nose of the disc hit the ground first.
Certainly bobbled it, so if any part of the disc did hit the ground, it would be incomplete. But from here, I thought he kept it up. Again, the layout throw, and this one's on the ground. And Gravat's going deep, and John Tan picks it up and resets for Wilson. Wilson finds a lane up the line. Chun Moy, hammer, and it works! It's a break for the Radicals to culminate a 4.5-minute point. Kieran Robert puts the Radicals back on top.
Here's another look at Smith's ambitious shot to the end zone. He atones for that mistake with a nice block in the deep space here. And then Josh Wilson earning the block and just zipping this one with too much heat into that narrow, collapsing window. Zuraw trying to extend himself, throw around the mark. Smith can't bring that one in, but how about the poise there from Chun Moy? Really easy for one of those downwind hammers to not turn over fully, to get pushed out the sideline, but the perfect amount of touch, putting it right in Robert's breadbasket. He's another one of those young core pieces who I'm really looking to see grow, who the leaders of this program have said have taken on more responsibility and leadership this year. And if he can be a part of this core and continue developing over the next couple years, he could be a reason that Madison stays competitive in the Central Division.
Quick answer from the Havoc. Tic-tac-toe down the field. And after the last point took 4 minutes and 38 seconds off the clock, this one is done in 39 seconds. Another score for Brendan Adams.
Once again, the challenge for either of these teams, can someone find a way to get another upwind score? It looks like downwind, even though there are a few turnovers involved, is something that both of these groups can handle, whether it's their O-line or their D-line offense.
The last Radicals goal was something I'm not sure I've seen before in over a decade broadcasting Frisbee. It was number 93 connecting with number 94 for the score. And then we just had Alden to Adams for Houston.
We're going to have to get the research team fact-checking you before we sign off for the night.
I thought you were the research team.
I got to watch the game, man. Come on.
Mark is trying to get free, unable to do so, so it's the big man Sample coming back into the handler core to make the reset work. Kai DiLorenzo, former D3 national champ at Middlebury College, gets it to Ted Shuey. And the former Wisconsin Hodag is fouled on the mark by Max Grove, who's got Midwestern roots as well. Grove originally from Chicago. Sample bluffs the lefty, goes righty, and he did not throw it out of the reach of Gutowski. He runs it down and he's inbounds. What a play.
Well, the receiver they call Gumby has been throwing his body all over the place tonight. His speed is on full display, his finishing ability on full display, and Madison has needed it, as evidenced by that score-saving grab right there.
Third year on the Radical, 90 goals in his first 2 seasons for Madison, and Kai DiLorenzo stays out there to play D. The wind is not nothing, but it's not like you can't throw in this direction, as evidenced by that pull. And now here's a golden opportunity for the Radicals after the drop. Zuroff fumbled it away.
I wonder if Spyro will use his second time out here.
Josh Wilson gets it into the end zone. They don't need a timeout. John Tan with his first goal of the night, and just the 8th of his Madison career.
I mean, no doubt that's one that Zuroff wants back. And this is a real test for Houston right here. How is this group going to respond going into the wind? And to your point, it's not impossible to throw in this direction. And the wind may have let up just a little bit from the 22-mile-an-hour gusts that we were observing in the first quarter. But there's no doubt that the wind and rain going in this direction, more challenging to complete passes in.
Madison has taken a page out of Minnesota's playbook, because we have seen some really good pulls so far in this game, and I know that's something the Radicals have worked on.
And look at this start here. They didn't come down in the zone right off the bat.
And yet it finds the ground anyway, and Luke Marks picks it up, throws it to Jake Carrico for the score. 3 straight for Madison.
I wonder if was Cunningham believing he got fouled at the release, or did the zone defender just get a tiny piece of it immediately after the release? It was hard to tell in live action.
Yeah, it was close. These guys need a timeout. Their Havoc had a 5-4 lead and now trail 9-6.
Wow, it was neither. He just kind of threw it into the ground. The perspective up here in the booth got me.
Would you like to head down to the sideline and report for a
You
little
know,
bit?
it's a little comfier up here. Maybe I'll check in at halftime and take your umbrella with me.
Houston looking to stabilize here as Madison has made a run with back-to-back breaks. Houston back in the end zone as Lewis catches his second of the night. Make it a 2-goal game with $1.50 to play in the half.
You can see Kieran Robert was having a conversation with the official there. Hey, when Kalafa caught that disc and stepped across, did he not travel by doing that? I didn't see him accelerate his momentum or change his angle or take an extra step. I thought that was a legitimate sequence.
Connor, you get it, a pull into the wind.
You know, I understand that Madison's going downwind. They're still just 1 for 3 on deep shots tonight. I wouldn't be afraid if I was Houston for one play call to just kind of dare these guys to rip a deep shot accurately.
Yep. And it was the Kai Marcus shot to Gutowski that was the successful puck for the Radicals.
That had to go up before the quarter expired.
Well, you asked for it, you get it, and it works out for the Havoc, just what you're looking for.
All right, well, they're going to have to start against a double team, so the Havoc coaching staff better have a pretty good plan to not strand this thrower and get one throw and then the continuation off.
25-year-old Tyler Reinhart
See, there's no one there to help him after he throws that dump.
Ugetta gets it off the sideline, working with Burt.
Running out of real estate with these negative resets.
Can't go backwards too much longer. A bunch of completions, but all it's doing is working time off the clock. We're down to about 30 seconds. Houston does have one timeout. Timeout is much better than a turnover here. And a rip up the line from Reinhardt. Knocked to the ground. What do we got?
Foul on the throw?
That looks like the signal. But it can't be a foul on the throw. Maybe a pit before the throw, because he is moving backwards. So it's 13 seconds. Turns out to be a gift for Houston if they can just run out the clock and not give up a goal at the end of the quarter. That throw up the line is going to be out of bounds, and the clock will stop as Madison then restarts and throws it away. Burt intercepts it.
Why doesn't Houston burn it?
Havoc do call for the timeout. We'll see how much time they put on the clock. We just heard a buzzer, but the timeout has been granted. A chaotic sequence to close out this first half. See how much time is left and where the Havoc will initiate here. They should be able to get a shot to the end zone.
I just got visions of, as we get another look at this sequence, the interception by Gutowski, but then his throw off the line here is immediately intercepted.
Third D of the half for Caden Burt.
I mean, this is a guy who got the better of Alec Wilson-Holiday multiple times, the league's leading goal scorer last season. So we can't be terribly surprised by that. I just got visions here of Josh Klain setting up and throwing someone open in the back of the stack. This is exactly the adverse condition where a thrower like him would excel, where we saw in games of the week last season and a championship weekend last year.
Could Chase Cunningham be that guy for Houston? Facing the lanky double team of Tan and Gravatt. Gets the backhand off. It's going to be shy of the end zone as time expires. Halfway through this interdivisional game, the Madison Radicals have a 9-7 lead over the Houston Havoc in the first ever meeting between these two franchises. Madison beginning its 12th season in the UFA. Houston beginning its third.
I mean, the difference right now is really these teams were tied at 6. It was that 3-goal run from Madison to go up 9-6, a hold and 2 breaks that really separated them. And Madison just doing a better job with the few opportunities. It's gotten very close to that upwind goal line.
Well, the Madison Radicals coming down to the Lone Star State to play Houston tonight and Austin tomorrow. The third member of our broadcast crew, Grace Bulow, is standing by on the sideline with the new head coach of the Madison Radicals, Jacob Spiro. Grace, if you can hear me, take it away.
Thanks, Evan. So it's pretty fun weather out here. How do you keep your mindset positive when the rain is like this?
You just have to know that there's only certain things about the game you can control, and so the same rain for both teams. So we just need to do the best we can with it and enjoy the moist air.
Amazing, super fun. Do you think you're getting lucky out there, or do you think your boys are playing pretty smart, considering everything?
I always like to think that we have a mix of both of those things.
Yeah. How do you prepare and practice for weather like this?
I mean, there's only so much you can do, but we get, in the spring in Wisconsin, we get plenty of weather like this. So this has been, what I would say most of our practices have looked like this. So we've got plenty of exposure.
All right, I know it's an abbreviated half. Get back to your team.
All right, thanks.
Yeah. Back to you, Evan.
All right, Grace, thank you. Preparing the elements down on the sideline. It's not ideal ultimate conditions, but we certainly have seen plenty of exciting moments. The commissioner and former head coach of the Radicals, Tim DeVile, been through many of games like this. Radicals lead 9-7 at the half. On the green stage, huge bid, gets the time.
Great opportunity for the Germans, and they break with ease.
Throw it the full 80 yards to the field. Are you kidding me? And an incredible catch. You are kidding me. Oh my God. Throw like a pro with a new Pro Ultimate Frisbee. Created with input from the sport's premier passers, the Pro Frisbee is specially designed to fly through the wind and maintain its edge. Experience the official Frisbee of the UFA and get yours at shopufa.com today. Back here at SaberCat Stadium, if it is indeed an abbreviated halftime, we'll have to do a Friday night six-pack really quickly. It's presented by Pabst Light. 6 things I'm looking for this weekend. The South's oldest rivalry, Carolina and Atlanta, renew acquaintances tomorrow down in Georgia. Could the DC Breeze fall to 0-2? They need a win over Toronto to avoid it. Could the Philly Phoenix be 2-0? 2 rising contenders meet out west with Oakland and Seattle. You got Madison seeking payback against Austin after a 1-goal loss at home to the Soul in 2022. You also have the Southern California teams playing in the South Division for the first time. We speed through the six-pack as the second half's about to start, but first, let's hear from Bex Force. She's standing by with Grace.
What about the weather?
Actually, we don't mind it at all. You know, we practice at the practice fields here, and we're used to a lot of wind, so the rain has added a little bit more of a dimension, but yeah, we're fine.
Any adjustments that you're making in the second half of the game?
Just a little bit on our zone offense. We want to bring back another handler, make sure that we have enough coverage, make a really good double team. More hands on the disc.
Perfect. Well, it looks like the game's about to start. Thank you so much for talking to me. Back to you, Evan.
Yeah, Grace, thanks so much. Appreciate Bex running across the field. The Havoc will pull to begin this third quarter, Ian, an abbreviated halftime with the danger of lightning coming in later. Both teams agreed to try to get this third quarter going as quickly as possible. It's interesting. Bex is staying on the Radicals sideline here with the Madison team because the teams are on the line seemingly ready to go. I kind of thought they would hold the game for her to run across, but no, she'll coach this first point of the second half from the different perspective and maybe eavesdrop on some Madison perspective. Worth noting, if lightning were to stop us now and we weren't able to resume, this game is official. So unless the game is tied, the Radicals have done enough if they can hang on to the lead, but they also can't count on that, obviously. They start this third quarter on 0 with Gutowski working with Alexander.
Yeah, with that threat of the game ending sooner, every point becomes even more pressure-packed.
No doubt. Saw some flashes overhead as well. Max Sample just shy of midfield. Didn't have any reset behind him, but finds space downfield. Jack Nelson's gotten open a lot tonight, connecting with Gutowski, but his throw toward the sideline looking for Marcus is incomplete.
Wow.
Couple quick throws by Gutowski getting away. This could be a Callahan. Instead, it's a completion. Dalton Smith keeps it alive, and then Scoobers downfield. Houston looking to get back within one as Salazar keeps the disc moving. Grove eludes the layout block bid. Zura, the lefty, fires it into the end zone for Cunningham.
I mean, this possession all made possible by that pressure from Ben Lewis. Yeah, Gutowski with a little bit of an overthrow, but Lewis providing pressure there in that space, and then Zura hitting Cunningham to the front cone, the one space on the field as a defender that you got to protect. And what a performance. No turnovers in this incredibly windy, rainy evening for Ben Lewis, who's been a presence on both sides of the disc.
A longtime member of the Dallas franchise, playing his 97th UFA game here tonight. He's closing in on 100 career blocks. That was just his 95th of his UFA career, just about one per game for the guy they call eBay. Wilson feeds it downfield for Mitchell McCarthy. McCarthy shooting it. It's a beautiful shot if it stays in bounds, and it's out the back. Sam Stark thought he towed the line, and he was very, very close to doing so.
Well, the reason that that was a viable option was because Caden Burt pursued on the under aggressively and lost his footing in the wet turf. Kind of fell and slipped just a little bit, and that gave Stark the separation to cut deep down that same third sideline. But again, Madison not able to complete the deep ball there, even in the downwind direction. I think this Havoc defense might need to lean into that a little more as this game progresses.
Chance for Houston to tie this thing up. And they give it away near midfield. Wilson finds a wide open man underneath. It's Noah Chun-Moy. Beautiful toss to open space for Carrico. And that's throwing a guy open into the end zone. Promising break opportunity for Houston comes undone pretty quick. Pierin Robert with his second goal of the night.
Caden Burt just wants that one back. It's really a gift when his group was making so much progress in the challenging direction, but after that turnover, he and his teammate just kind of scrambling to protect the deepest defender, and that left all kinds of open space underneath for Carrico, and then Carrico just had to do one pump fake, communicate with Robert, get that defender to bite, and throw it back across his body, and an easy finish for Madison. This Houston squad just agonizingly close to tying this game.
Kai DiLorenzo trying to stay loose out there. Backhand pulled, gliding toward the back corner of the end zone where Zura makes the catch. Does not have an easy first throw, able to get it to Cunningham just outside the goal line, working with Mark Turner.
Yeah, and that's nice work getting the ball off that sideline quickly. He's got to do that again before this trap can set.
Mark Turner, number 55, receiving the disc now, had a storybook debut last week, everything except the win. Was involved in 8 scores in his first UFA game. He's not a young guy for the UFA perspective. He's in his 30s, grew up playing Ultimate in Hawaii, started playing at Kaimana. And there's Turner right on cue, catching the goal to bring the Havoc within 1. He started playing Ultimate because his neighbors were Ultimate players. And his neighbor told him if he kept playing Ultimate until he was 15 years old, that his neighbor would pay for his first trip to Kaimana, which is a famous beach tournament in Oahu. Kaimana was his first taste of high-level Ultimate. He played at every Kaimana from 04 to 13. Ian, do you ever play Kaimana?
I did, but I played in 2017, so I missed him by a couple years.
Since 2014, he's mostly played Summer League, pickup. He's lived in Hawaii, San Diego, Nevada. Now with his family here in Houston. Came to 3-on-3, and Bexforth said she saw him and like, ooh, that guy. We want that guy to be on our team.
I mean, she considers herself a really strong talent evaluator, and if she's gone from being a newbie to a World Games talent, I'd say she's pretty qualified to do so in and of herself too.
Madison with a slight breeze at their backs. The raindrops continue to pound the shoulders of all these players here in Houston.
I'm loving how tight this Havoc defense is on this point, and they're rewarded with a short field turnover.
Reinhardt, the easy interception near the sideline. Kelly makes the adjustment, surrounded by Radicals defenders.
Worth burning it if you're Bexforth.
She does call it, and I agree with you, Ian. That was the right choice. This is such a critical opportunity going in this direction. So Bexforth does take the timeout, and Cunningham and Lewis and Zura and Smith and Kalafa, Rivera and Turner retake the field.
Zura bringing it back in for the Havoc.
Gravatt and Tan set the double team. Oh, that was a force.
This group can still pin Madison here and make it impossible for them to get out of this.
Crossfield hammer for Gravatt. DiLorenzo. Here's Wilson. That's an offensive foul.
Yeah, he clearly pushed off.
Mark Turner in his second UFA game.
Sidelines letting him hear it.
Not bashful about setting the mark here on Wilson. Josh Wilson playing his 109th game in the Ultimate Frisbee Association. He played back in 2012, and here's another block from Turner.
That's the athletic instinct right there. Wasn't even his assignment. Saw the throw going up in the lane, adjusted, and got there to get the disc back. Houston has to value this.
Smith, hammer for Cunningham. Chase to the end zone. It's caught by Zura to tie the game.
There's the first turnover of the point. Here's the second.
Heck of a play by Chun Moy to deny Cunningham a chance. But then watch this by Turner.
I don't know if that was the valuing the disc that I had in mind with that throw from Cunningham. I'm sure he was looking at Kalafa, and Zura attacked and cleaned up the trash, but hey, it worked. And the other thing that's really great about that for Houston is arguably that you could say that was its most experienced line. Perhaps its top 7, maybe you could swap 1 or 2 pieces in or out there. But that group got rewarded and didn't go back to the bench exhausted without scoring.
Wow. Another giveaway by the Radicals, and Houston could retake the lead right here.
If they can hang on to the disc.
The condition's certainly a factor, and Kai Marcus rips it deep. Brought in just shy of the goal line by Jack Nelson. And Gutowski gets free in the end zone.
How many short fields are both of these teams going to waste?
My goodness. Good pressure there from Grove. But then Houston unable to hang on to the disc in the red zone. And Kai Marcus with a get you out of trouble type of throw.
Well, after that turnover, Houston on the night eight for 14, 8 for 15 in the red zone.
That's a lot of red zone giveaways.
Thank you for completing my thought as I kept refreshing our stats screen.
I knew where you were going. All right, Cunningham coming under. Connects downfield with Grafera. Turner bluffs the big backhand. Angles this one into the backfield, but it's denied. Credit Mitchell McCarthy with the block. And a chance for the Radicals to double their lead. Reset into the backfield. Huge bid comes up empty by Lewis. Carrico having a tough time keeping his pivot foot planted, and he's going to take a timeout. And the Radicals will get the O-line on the field here with a great opportunity to increase the lead with just under 4 minutes to play here in the third.
How about that effort on Mitchell McCarthy's second block of the night? Once again, demonstrating his elite defensive skill and instincts. Turner thought he could get a little cheeky around that double team with the reset into the wind to Dalton Smith, and oh my goodness, Ben Lewis didn't care about a previously injured shoulder. He still sacrificed the body trying to attack that reset.
On the restart, it's an immediate throwaway from Kai Marcus.
And that's another red zone turnover. That's 8 for 13 now for Madison.
Neither team has done a great job valuing the disc near the goal line. Another opportunity for Houston to try to go 80-plus yards to tie the game. Huck launched by Cotter. Caden Burt on the deflection. Can he crawl to it? Oh my goodness, it's just out of his reach. We do have a call, and it will be Houston's disc because of the contact. Check out the effort right here. Burt got knocked down, and he just could not crawl his way to glory.
It's tough to see from that angle, and I'd love to talk.
On the restart, another red zone giveaway from the Havoc.
I'd love to talk to the head ref, John Burden, and understand what he was calling the foul on. Was it the initial block or was it the contact on the come down that stopped the second effort attempt?
Madison off to the races the other way. Marcus has a wide open Gutowski. Houston never recovered from the red zone turn. Madison Radicals logo has been a bolt of lightning for years, and it feels appropriate that kind of right as that goal was scored, the sky flashed here in Texas. 12-10, Madison.
So red zone turnovers from both teams on that point.
Yeah, they're mounting.
And I'm not going to say that those were high stall, perfectly locked down, intense pressure situations. They were both easy early in the stall and just misexecution.
A technical foul has been called on the Houston sideline.
Technical foul called against Houston for, looks like one of the assistant coaches over there arguing. Technical fouls are non-physical, unsportsmanlike fouls. One of the rule changes this year. Flagrant fouls are for physical, unsportsmanlike plays. Officiating crew tonight led by John Burton and Jonathan Moore, with Joshua Waters and Greg Muth manning the sidelines. And there's Beck's fourth, and her right-hand man, as she calls him, Ames Fegert. Officials getting the paperwork done here, which on a wet night is not easy.
Got a feel for him.
I will say that no referee in the UFA has done a better job growing an incredible handlebar mustache than John Burton.
That's great stuff, John.
And they say we never praise the referees.
Got to give credit where it's due.
Jacob Spiro over there seeking an explanation as well. Madison's all huddled up. Houston players kind of hanging out, tossing the disc back and forth, stay loose. This is a strange situation to just have this pause here with 2:22 to go in a two-goal game here in the third. The rain continues to fall. I think it's fair to call this a downpour.
I'm with you.
The good thing is, like, there have been games like this in the Northeast this time of year when it's like 39 degrees. This is not that bad in comparison because it's like 76.
I'm totally with you. And just trying to understand what conversation is unfolding over there.
A glimpse of downtown Houston on this Friday night. UFA Game of the Week coming up tomorrow in Atlanta. The Carolina Flyers and the Atlanta Hustle. Adekale Ande and Taylor Minch on the call from Silverback Stadium at 7:30 Eastern. And then Friday night Frisbee next week. The West Division showdown between Seattle and Oakland. Game of the week in week 3. DC at Carolina, interdivisional action. So many can't miss games coming up. Really excited to see how the Breeze fare against the Toronto Rush tomorrow. We might have lightning. and we are in a weather delay. Perhaps that's what the coach was arguing, that we should stop play because it was unsafe. Anyway, the Radicals have a 12-10 lead with 2:22 to play. Mark Turner is one of the newcomers for this Houston team, and the Havoc desperately trying to avoid an 0-2 start. Turner's been a really nice addition to them early in the season. He's 33. He'll turn 34 in 8 days. But we had a chance to catch up with Mark and find out a little bit about what his experience so far in the UFA has been like. Here's the clip.
My name is Mark Turner. I play for the Houston Havoc, number 55. One, the Houston Havoc's filled a lot of great players, a lot of great teammates, and two, they're looking for some talent. So after talking to the community and playing some league, I showed up for tryouts, kind of not expecting to make it, but certainly wanted to just like be a part of the experience. And just had a lot of great feedback from the coaches, from the team, a lot of great communication. And after day one of tryouts, I knew that like I wanted to play for the Havoc, not only from like just the team perspective, but like what they're trying to do for the UFA as a whole, as the ultimate community grows inside and outside of Houston. Great to have a coach that's played at such a high level. Her style of coaching, I also really appreciate, where it's specific, it's personal, it's things that like as a player I really appreciate, because although I've been playing Ultimate for a long time, I've grown so much within the last 3 months because of how she and the coaching staff operate, how we work with like the Houston Havoc and the team as a whole. I have done a little bit of research on the Radicals for what film I've been able to watch. Sounds like they're a big team, physical team, and they've got very capable throwers. So do I think Houston Havoc could take down a male silverback gorilla? Fully grown? Yes. I think with the right technique, the right utilization of players, we've got some big players. We get Max in there, Zach Cotter, Coach Ames can even help out. Like, he's included in this. Ben Lewis attacks from the front. Like, yeah, no doubt, we got it covered. And then I can help, like, time up or something. You know, like, we'd be good.
Well, the field has been cleared here at SaberCat Stadium. Fun to hear from Mark Turner, one of the new rookies in 2025 here in the UFA. Evan Lepler back with Ian Toner. And this game has been paused with 2:22 to play. We've seen lightning in the distance. We just saw lightning and heard thunder pretty quickly. So there are certainly some factors with the weather that will go back into whether this game resumes. But it has been a wild night between these two teams. Like, we've seen the Havoc have so many bright spots, and yet at times they haven't been able to get out of their own way, which was what Becksworth was looking to see them do coming in. They're still a smidge away from finding their form, and they trail by 2. Hopefully they get a chance to play again tonight, but if they don't, they're falling 0-2.
Yeah, they've had stretches of resilience, but then spells where the continuity, the consistency, the execution just kind of falls off for a little bit. And so, like you've said, they have the ability to hang with a Central Division competitor like Madison. They just need to dial it in, keep the focus and the confidence. It sounds cliche, but when you look at the turnover numbers, when you look at the red zone turnover numbers in particular, those tell the story of this team just missing opportunities when they're right there for the taking.
So we are in a weather delay here in the third quarter of Friday Night Frisbee, presented by Pabst Light. Rather than just putting up a slate, we're going to give you a little look back at how last year's UFA championship game unfolded. It was the Minnesota wind chill and the Carolina Flyers in windy Salt Lake City, Utah. We will check back in with you in a bit with an update here from Houston, But for now, enjoy our Friday night rewind here on Friday Night Frisbee, presented by Pabst Light, with a look at the 2024 UFA Championship game, Minnesota and Carolina. Rams taking down Madison in the Central Final. The Carolina Flyers finished second in the regular season in the South Division, but they knocked off Austin at home, and then 2 weeks later defeated the Atlanta Hustle by 1, running out the clock on the Hustle's championship dreams. Carolina's going to start on offense, and we're going to get an early look at what the wind is going in this direction. Upwind scores right to left last night were critically important, and particularly in the first game were very rare, but the wind has subsided considerably, and the Flyers are ready to go. Starting 7 for Carolina: Alan Laviolette, Tobias Brooks, Jacob Fairfax, Elijah Long, Terrence Mitchell, Anders Jungst, and Dylan Hawkins.
And not only has the wind subsided, Evan, but it looks like it's going the other direction from yesterday. And we've seen the gusts pick up, Ian. We've seen them be still. We've seen them be apocalyptic levels of wind for regular Ultimate Frisbee. We'll see which team adjusts.
Minnesota has been known for its pulls. Cameron Lacey gets us started. The 2024 UFA Championship game begins with a drop. Alan Laviolette with a turnover on his own goal line, and immediately Minnesota capitalizes. Vandy Mortel to Hansen. Wind chill break. 17 seconds in.
If the wind truly has shifted that way, this is another example of Cameron Lacey elevating his game at championship weekend when other D-line stalwarts have gone down. Look at the way that he executes this beautiful opening pull, allowing the D-line to get down there and apply pressure immediately. This is a dream start for Minnesota, and they're getting contributions from Cameron Lacey and others who are stepping up while others are getting injured.
What a mistake to start off the match. And now Carolina has to go upwind to get their first point. Good news is nobody's tired.
Look at this pull. Clangs into the back bracket, and Dylan Hawkins deep in the caverns of his own end zone, working with Elijah Long. First touch for Jacob Fairfax.
Looks like Paul Krennic has drawn the Tobias Brooks matchup to start here.
Lacey on Mitchell. And Hawkins swings it for Jungst with DeClercq there defensively. And Laviolette dropped another. This one was a little bit less straightforward than the last, but still a shocking sight to see. And Tristan Vandy Mortel has another assist. 2-0 wind chill.
I don't know what I'm more shocked by. The second drop from Laviolette, or how easily Krennic just walked by Toby Brooks to that front cone right there.
It's all about transitions in the wind. I mean, that's a riser. It's going high on Laviolette. That's going to happen in this game. We'll see more of those tonight should the wind continue. But you're right. It's been 2 goals right to the cone right after the turnover. In wind games, it's really important to transition. And it's still early. We have almost a minute, 15 seconds elapsed here. These are big points for Minnesota. You want to start this way, obviously. But now Carolina's going down when they have a chance to settle things down. And I would be shocked if they weren't able to do so.
D-line out here on the field for Carolina with Snell and Weaver anchoring.
Downfield, it's Grayson Sanner, William Coffin, Ethan Bloodworth, and my goodness! William Coffin just fumbled it away.
Number 42, Andy Shirley with the net.
Speechless at the start for the Flyers. Klain to the end zone, finds Noah Hansen. 3-0 Minnesota. this were a video game, the Flyers would hit the reset button right about now and start again.
I mean, these are the kind of mistakes that you'd be expecting Minnesota to be making in this game, right? Given how much experience and accomplishments this Flyers resume and personnel have under their belt, it looks like they're the team that's never been on a stage like this before.
Yeah, they got to find a way to right the ship and right it quick. The drops are going to happen in the win game, but it's where they happen, right? And then after that, Minnesota, Josh Klain playing some D-line, one of the best throwers we've seen in the game, finds a way to get it to the end zone.
I don't think the wind chill can keep this up, but they are averaging a goal for every 1.6 passes. 3 goals, they're 5 for 5. Mind-boggling start here in Salt Lake City, and Laviolette full extension prevents another Flyers miscue. Can Carolina just figure out a way to settle in? Remember a championship weekend last year, we saw the Austin Soul get back-to-back breaks on the New York Empire, the first 2 points in the semifinals, and obviously the New York Empire still won handily at the end of the night. But this certainly feels different. Minnesota team playing with a growing, steady confidence. And another Flyers drop. What is going on here? Can Minnesota stay perfect? Mitchell deflects it, but it's kept alive. To the end zone. Will it stay in bounds? Yes!
I mean, Brian, did it look to you like the Carolina Flyers just kind of gave up when that shot went up?
Oh, they're shell-shocked right now. There's no question about it. I'm looking at Mike Denardis. This is a timeout call. This is automatic for me. You have a team right now that, yeah, the mistakes are happening because of the wind. The drops are going to happen, but the effort on the turn has to be better, and that's what you need right now. This team is shocked. They are surprised, and they haven't been able to get it together, and it's slowly unraveling. Not even slowly unraveling, that's the wrong way to put it. It is just completely unraveled so far. I can't believe it. We're watching the wind in this game, right? It's been going left to right all day long. It settled down a half an hour before the game. It looked like we were playing in calm conditions, and right before this opening poll, it has just been picked up.
And switched directions entirely.
I feel like we're living in the upside down, Stranger Things style. Everything different than what we expected as Snell says why not shoot it to Henry Fisher, but it's Brandon Mattis, the longest tenured member of the Minnesota Wind Chill, the all-time franchise leader in games played, who gets the block.
I don't hate that decision downwind. High stall situation, avoid the short field turnover.
They just got to find their energy. More than anything else, settle in.
Klain launching for Mattis, and it's intercepted by Fisher. That's the first Wind Chill turnover after they scored 4 goals on their first 10 completions.
There are no wrist flips out here on this field. You have to get low, lunge, and provide full snap on every release.
Youngst to the end zone. Mattis denies Fisher again.
Carolina smartly double teams Josh Klain. They should continue to do so. Deny him the disc. Peter Snell with that big mark.
And gets it around with a backhand to Mattis. Klain rips it as hard as he can. All the way to the end zone, and it's dropped on the layout for Anthony Gurley. There's just such an odd vibe right now for both teams.
It's one of those moments where you're afraid you're never going to score again. If you've been in this slop, as Carolina has, in this moment, it's got to just calm down and get that first score.
Laviolette to Fisher, and finally, the Flyers find a way into the end zone.
I mean, Carolina exhaling, but that could have been 5-0 right there.
Could have been, and you got to wonder.
Should have been.
Should have been 5-0. It was an incredible throw from Crane. And, you know, if you're Carolina with the amount of drops you have, you see this first shot, I don't blame them. Launch it deep. Fisher gets it back, and I think they just feel that sigh of relief. They try another shot. There's some contact here. Definitely some contact. I liked the no call.
Yeah, so did I.
Originally. Yeah, I still like it.
Yeah.
Oh.
That was 5-0 in Jurley's grasp. 80 yards the other way. Laviolette picks up the assist. All right, Carolina, not the first time its D-line has been on the field, but it's the first D point for the Flyers. After Minnesota began the game with 4 consecutive breaks. Quinn Snyder, Leo Savell Fernandez.
Nice offhand there.
Danny Mortel to Snyder. Brant downfield, being chased by Coffin, and the wind chill give it away. Snyder looking for Larson on the flick side. Davis there defensively, and a break opportunity for Carolina. And another drop for Coffin. Carolina had 3 drops in the semifinals yesterday. They've had 5 in the first 6.5 minutes tonight. Danny Mortel has been massive at the start of this game for Minnesota. Push pass from Brant.
Look at all these throws that are possible going in the downwind direction that Brant is making happen.
Larson for Barry. 5-1 wind chill.
High stall situation on the sideline. What does Brant do? Just throw an elevator backhand using his size. Later, in a tough reset situation, he throws a push pass. And I know those look like small, short yardage throws, but they keep the offense moving at a time when it's stagnating.
It's so hard in this moment. Coffin's got to make that catch. In these moments, you've had the one. He had one earlier, looking away, looking downfield. You've got to bring that in. But you're right, Ian. I love the point that you made. All of the marks going downwind have to keep that right hand high, because it doesn't matter the team. That backhand in that situation is going to be dangerous as a weapon. And you saw it for Minnesota. They're keeping it on this side of the field, on the near side of the field.
You know, I think back to the 2019 USA Ultimate Men's College Championship, and what did Brown do against North Carolina and Colorado? They punished people going downwind with high release backhands. And the question is, can this institutional knowledge from Carolina learn from that? But here's another turnover.
Great pressure defense from Minnesota, but an excellent recovery from Anders Jungst, denying the Minnesota charge.
This is chaos.
This has to be a huck right now. You have to put this downfield. You cannot have any other option. Got to get it in bounds.
They got a free 10 yards. Contact called on the mark.
I love Laviolette as a thrower here, but I would give it to Fairfax and I would send it.
Well, the numbers for the Flyers so far are ugly. They're 1 for 5 on hucks. They're 1 for 7 on O-line possessions.
You know, did I say they had to huck it before? I think they can work it.
Number 11, Laviolette to work again on this point in the backfield.
Wow, miscommunication. Fairfax and Laviolette just not on the same page at all. And what do we got?
Some contact between Rader and Fairfax.
Yeah, Rader
Fairfax was stumbling.
Calling the foul. And Carolina's going to keep the disc.
I believe that is an integrity call.
Unbelievable to see an integrity call with these stakes in the championship game. Great sportsmanship there from Rader.
Brooks back to Laviolette. Seeking a reset. Now Scoobers to the back corner, and he's got a wide open Fairfax.
Things starting to settle down. I mean, but the wind chill, they could be up 5-0 and then could be up 6-1. They get this first turnover, and you got to just do a better job. I mean, that could have been a timeout call, get your offense to the field. I mean, I know you've been rolling and everything's been going your way, but you have a chance. Carolina's a dangerous team. This is a 3-goal deficit with 3 minutes to go in the first quarter. This isn't over, right? It's a shocking start, but you're letting them get their confidence back and settle it down, and you can keep your foot on the gas.
Evan, we were talking on the pregame show about who we expected to be championship weekend MVPs, and you were talking about Jacob Fairfax, predicting that he was going to catch a buzzer beater at the end of the third quarter. That could still happen. Were you expecting this to be preceding that?
I did say I thought the Minnesota wind chill would get off to a good start, but I didn't think it would be because Carolina forgot how to catch the Frisbee. I mean, it's been a stunning start for the Flyers from that perspective. They look completely overwhelmed. Minnesota was mentally and physically much better at the start of this game. But now let's see if they can sustain it, because it's a long game. Ben Snell sending Fisher all the way to the end zone, and what is it with that spot? We get another drop on the goal line.
Carolina has been trying to get Minnesota pinned to this sideline where they're starting off here and taking away that easy dump, but look at this hammer. A lot of guts to throw it, but a lot of space to do it in.
Great find. Now Jordan Taylor's going deep. Vinoka takes the more conservative pass to Snyder, who resets for Brandt. And here's Vandy Mortel. And Tristan Vandy Mortel has been the top field general in this game so far. Josh Klain probably a close second, both members of the wind chill. Snyder can't keep it alive.
The wind just makes throwing and catching harder. It just does. And you see these soft tosses that can get affected. They can either float and jump in the air or get pushed to the ground, in this case, with the wind chill going downwind.
Nobody going deep. And Elijah Long just gives the disc right back to the wind chill.
And the wind is picking up. I mean, Evan, you said it. I was convinced we were going to be playing in calm conditions, but this wind keeps moving around, and it's getting worse.
That was the 10th turnover of the quarter for the Flyers. Remember the championship game 3 years ago, they had 7 turnovers in 4 quarters. That disc just dove downward at the last second. Intended for Larson.
Good point from McSherry, saying that clock should have stopped when the disc went out the back of the end zone, because we're under a minute remaining.
Fisher at 6'6", makes the leap and catch. This point began with 3:12 left in the first. Now down to 30 seconds. Clock will stop as the disc crosses the sideline. 24 seconds for Minnesota.
What was that throw?
Wind impacted. Wind chill impacted. Did not have a buzzer beater in either game yesterday. Hammer for Vinoka. Incomplete. Snell gets a piece. Clock stops with 4 seconds left. Ben Feldman trying to get a double team. Flyers are going to have to throw a pass. Snell. Low throw. Velas rips it the length of the field. Intercepted, knocked down. And that's the end of the first. You can have all the pregame conversations and break the numbers down. You can really know what you're talking about, and then you realize you still don't know much. Because no one envisioned the first 12-minute segment quite like this. Minnesota leads 5-2. Still got 3/4 of this left here on Championship Saturday night. On the green stage. Huge bid. Gets the time. It's a great opportunity for the Germans, and they break with ease. Throw it the full 80 yards to the field. Are you kidding me? And an incredible catch. You are kidding me. Oh my God. Throw like a pro with a new Pro Ultimate Frisbee. Created with input from the sport's premier passers, the Pro Frisbee is specially designed to fly through the wind and maintain its edge. Experience the official Frisbee of the UFA and get yours at shopufa.com today. We welcome you back live to SaberCat Stadium in Houston, where the rain continues to pound the grass field here. Lightning continues to decorate the sky, and we continue to be in a weather delay with 2:22 to go in the third quarter of this game. The visiting Madison Radicals, who have a lightning bolt in their logo. Not going to hold them personally responsible, but the Houston Havoc, the home team, trailing 12-10. Evan Lepler back with Ian Toner. Ian, the teams are currently in the locker rooms, safely sheltered. And the last update we got is that about 50 minutes from now, 11 p.m. Eastern, 10 o'clock local, officials will convene and make a call about what's going to happen.
Yep.
They... No decision has been made as of yet. We also are not going to start in the next 45 minutes because we're currently in the thick of this thunderstorm. If the game is called, it would be an official game, and the win would go to the Radicals. Madison also has to play tomorrow in Austin, so you got to imagine the Radicals would probably be okay just saying good night and heading back to their pregame prep for the Soul. But interesting circumstances with the weather delay, pausing what's been a really riveting back-and-forth game through nearly 3/4.
Yeah, I was really impressed with Houston's ability to respond after having a really difficult start to the game on that opening point. But that group just hung in there. They stayed tough. They stayed resilient. Ultimately, there were a few spells of inconsistency and inability to execute. Once it was 6-6, they surrendered a 3-0 run. They had multiple red zone turnovers. I think they were 7 before we stopped playing, or 7 missed opportunities in the red zone. This is a group that can hang. It just needs to put all the pieces together for a full 4 quarters and not sustain these self-inflicted wounds. And Madison is showing that it's got slightly more experience, and it can battle through for a longer point and fight through that adversity, whether it's manufactured or comes from the opponent.
The red zone numbers that you're referring to, 8 for 15 for Houston. Madison has not been pristine in that department, but the Radicals currently ahead 5 breaks to 4, 12-10 overall. And the road to championship weekend 2025 will bring us to Madison August 22nd and 23rd. as Bree Stevens Field will host championship weekend for the 4th time. While we await the official word on whether or not we will resume play here on Friday Night Frisbee presented by Pabst Light, we will continue to show you last year's championship game. And Ian, we've enjoyed watching what was a wild start to last year's championship game in the windy conditions in Salt Lake. Miserable start for the Flyers. They will come back and make it a game, though, not to spoiler anybody.
Yeah, that was just really a puzzling thing to watch unfold live. But as you said, eventually this group found its footing, and once the 4th quarter comes around, stuff gets pretty tight.
Yes, it does. All right. Weather delay continues here in Houston. We thank you for being with us on Friday Night Frisbee presented by Pabst Light. And we will take you back to last year's UFA Championship game, 2nd quarter action from Salt Lake City between the Carolina Flyers and the Minnesota Wind Chill.
Everything's going wrong. It snowballs for a little bit. And this is the moment here to see if Carolina's regained their confidence. Defensively, they are trying to push the Wind Chill to the far side of the field and pin them there. Make them throw flicks. Don't let them throw those dangerous elevator backhands that we saw. And they had some turnovers. They got opportunities out of it. Question is, can they score going upwind? Minnesota didn't have to work very hard for their upwind scores. Josh Clayton had one beautiful huck, but the first one, that dropped from Laviolette.
No, I'm with you. I wonder, as we take a look at the Carolina D-line out here getting set to pull, how quick might be to pull the timeout trigger here in the 2nd quarter, given what he saw from his group in the 1st quarter and their inability to have confidence with the disc and establish any kind of rhythm.
As soon as you get it past half field and play stalls,
yeah,
and you don't have flow, that's when I would call the timeout, get your offense on the field. Just waiting for the t-shirt cannon to do its job, and then we can start.
Fans love a t-shirt cannon. Everywhere, in every city, in every sport. With the 12 Flyers turnovers, 5 of them were drops. 2 for Coffin, 2 for Laviolette, 1 for Long. Minnesota begins the 2nd on offense with Klain forwarding it for Brandt. High release backhand for Rader. And a quick inside forehand for Leo Savell Fernandez, who dishes for Colin Berry. Vinoka open and firing. Leo Savell Fernandez is there.
What a shot.
I mean, this is a guy who's been around the Minnesota community for so long, but been unable to commit to the Wind Chill. Ben Feldman has been begging him every season, hey, how can we make this work? And you can see how well he fits into this offense and what he adds to this group. He's distributing. We saw him have some nice offhands to keep the offense moving in the 1st quarter. And here, what does he do? He does his job to keep the disc moving, and then he becomes a viable option attacking downfield off the rail.
And that's a hard throw to throw there for Vinoka.
Yeah.
To put the right edge on it in these conditions, it's not easy to be a downwind thrower. That was picture perfect. We saw it yesterday in windy conditions. Downwind throws were not automatic.
Think about how much Bevon's game has grown as a thrower and a decision maker relative to when he first started out in the league. It's unbelievable what he's been putting together this season for this team.
And at age 34, he might be playing the best ultimate of his career.
It's what I said in our championship weekend preview, and I stand by it.
Flyers have not figured it out. Lacey with the easy block. And here comes Minnesota again, led by Tristan Vanny Mortel and Cameron Lacey. Vanny Mortel breaks the mark. Paul Krennic. Vanny Mortel, contact in the end zone, a catch, maybe an injury.
Wow.
But it's a Wind Chill score for the moment.
I thought there was grounds for a foul call or a pick call.
It is a goal. And the Flyers are less concerned about the score and more concerned about the status of their injured teammate
Anders Jungst.
Hard to tell exactly what happened there. Noah Hansen has his 3rd goal. Tristan Vandy Mortel has his 3rd assist.
Yeah, okay. That's just unfortunate. I don't think that's a pick or a foul. I misinterpreted that in live action. You know, Durr's trying to peel off, and the wind doing crazy things, and contact happening at an unfortunate angle.
Glad to see him walk off the field. Hope he's okay. That's another short field turn for Carolina, right? They had the game plan to huck it last night against Seattle, and so far in this game, they have given the wind chill 3 golden opportunities upright. And you can't do that in this level of wind.
I mean, last night, Carolina finished the game with 25 hucks. We're in the 2nd quarter, and they've only attempted 4.
They haven't hit 1. Minnesota's won the energy battle. Minnesota's won the execution battle.
It's a great double team there from Barkas.
Better defense by the youngster, Thomas Shope. 18 years old in the UFA championship game, and Krennic trying to find Madison. Do we get a timeout call before the turn? We got a whistle, and we got a Minnesota timeout before the giveaway. Another wind chill celebration. Ben Feldman, take a bow.
They are locked in. They know how to play in this wind. It is nuts to see them be this ready, Carolina to be this shell-shocked.
2 guys clear out of line. Let's sit. Let's go wide. What we want is an easy pass. Yeah, sounds good. Easy pass. Who has the ball and who do you want? Who do you want filling? Tristan, and then Devon, and then Gordon. Yeah, okay. You have 1 time out. 1, 2.
What do you think of the energy in the huddle there?
It felt a little frenetic to me.
They're excited for good reason. They haven't been perfect yet. This could be an even better result right now.
What kind of high release is Brant going to throw to get out of this?
He breaks the mark and finds Minoka. Larson to the end zone for a wide open Jordan Taylor.
I mean,
3-0 wind chill here in the 2nd.
I know we've got crazy wind conditions, but that was just textbook red zone offense, right? Break the mark, dump, swing, continue to change the angle of attack, and the continuation opens up. As we get another look at Shope's block and the continuation to Taylor.
They're doing a great job on defense and getting enough opportunities after Will Grant made that first pass out of the double team. They had Carolina on the ropes. They had the advantage, and they kept it the entire way through that possession.
It is just absolutely flabbergasting to see Carolina so confused, so tentative, so timid. Another miscue there, just handling the pull. Here's Brooks, ripping it long. Fairfax, the intended target, deflected by Jurley and knocked down by Minnesota's Cam Lacey.
And that's fine, but you got to now win the energy battle on defense. You got to find a way. You got the field position. You got to find a way to get it back.
I mean, am I crazy? Does Carolina, well, it's moot now because Minnesota just turned it over.
What were you going to say? Because Carolina could turn it again here.
Well, does Carolina not just have to immediately aggressively front everyone, given the aggressive upwind condition that Minnesota would be traveling in?
They absolutely do, and they did it, and now they get the goal.
Brooks to Sanner.
Look, we can analyze this, but it's pretty simple. Carolina wasn't ready to catch the disc and play in the wind. And now they're on the back foot, and they have to regain their energy and the confidence. The wind chill game plan was perfect from the start, right? Credit to the wind chill. They're in good position. They haven't made those critical mistakes. And Carolina now, you look at this hockey and you're going, did they really need that? They turn it over again. They're getting the disc back in a better position. They're playing the field position back. In these games, the team that's willing to do that the most in this wind, the first team usually seizes the moment, and you can see how big of a difference it makes. There's still time left, but it's about finding that energy and that edge. And Carolina right now is searching for the technical answer, and it's not technical. Go play your hearts out.
Grant marked by Coffin. Colin Berry. How good has Tristan Vandy Mortel been so far tonight? Oh, nearly a turn. Instead, to the end zone, it's Brams. Feels like wind chill practice out there. I mean, everything is clicking for Minnesota.
You know, we spent so much time in our pregame talking about what Will Brandt was going to have to do, and don't get me wrong, he's been a key facilitator, and he had a great finish there. But I don't think we were prepared for the Tristan Vandy Mortel show that we've been seeing so far tonight.
He's got the experience in Minnesota with the wind. He does a great job in all of the conditions. Been a steady presence. Moves the ball, and that's just what you need right now. Minnesota is locked in. They're playing great. Carolina, keep finding that energy. They're down by 6, but there's still 8 minutes to go in the second quarter.
Meaning you think it's eminently possible that Carolina finds a way.
Especially in this game, you get one upwind score, but let's see how the downwinder works out.
Will this be the first Huck completion of the day? Indeed. Tobias to Terrence. A booming backhand missile.
Another way to think about this game, and first we'll comment on this Huck because it's perfect going downwind. You see it, he hasn't really launched it backhand yet. They prevented him on the wind chill with the marks, but this is picture perfect. But while this is a 5-point game, it's really about getting the first upwind score. If you can do that, you usually are going to get the downwinder. We've seen Minnesota do it. Every single upwind break is worth 2. Right now, you're down about 3 upwinders, maybe 2, depending on the situation and how halftime works out. You get the first one, and the energy can just pump back into Carolina.
Go back in, switch you. Center Brand.
Not like Minnesota's offense has been perfect. They've scored 3 goals on offense in 8 possessions.
Wind chill working through. From the big break, working the center to Brand.
6 of the 9 scores coming from the D-line. Oh my goodness, it looked like Coffin had the block, but Taylor made the adjustment for Minnesota. And now Vandy Mortel working with Brandt. Christian Belis making life tough for Leo Sabel Fernandez, and it was Belis' pressure that leads to the throwaway. Flyers 0 for 5 on break chances.
And now you see Mike Nars sprinting down, getting ready to call a timeout, but here we go.
He didn't call it. Weller's the target, he rips it down next to Jordan Taylor. Denarda still running side by side with the official, and now the timeout taken with 6:38 to play in the half. Flyers disc on the goal line. A pass or two away, perhaps, from their first break of the night.
A timeout call usually you don't like. You usually let the defense work it, but I don't blame them. You only have 2 timeouts. You haven't used any of them. Wellers made a nice grab, boxed out in that situation, but didn't have anybody immediately. I like that timeout call in this win. You have to punch this in. Turnover from the Scuba, making the offensive player double cut. And then I love that Ben Snell picked it up and just got it moving right away. That transition we talked about yesterday, so important. Can't let the defense set, makes it so much harder. And now, looking at the flags, we knew this was going to happen tonight. The wind has just completely died down. And that could mean a couple of things. Is it going to mean the upwind score doesn't matter as much? Are we going to see it come back? We really don't know. But either way, feels like Carolina needs this.
Dylan Hawkins double teamed, and a low throw kept alive by Laviolette. Elijah Long, Anders Jungst back in the game. That's a good sign for the Flyers. And slicing it through the defense, Grayson Sanner has his second goal, and the Flyers have their first break here in the title game.
Absolutely critical movement there from Jungst. As soon as he caught that swing here on the flick sideline, you knew Minnesota wanted to set a double or a quasi-triple, but he immediately pivoted back, got it back to the middle, and that opened up the gut shot into the end zone. That is expert-level awareness and deception from Jungst.
When you're teaching players how to do this, I'm watching their eyes as a coach, and you hear players be like, well, I looked here first, but you see Jungst be able to just, he takes a quick glance upfield, but as he's doing that, he's turning immediately. It's right where he is, to the middle of the field, off the sideline, just like you said, Ian, and it makes it a lot easier. If they set that double team, he's got to throw a hammer over the top.
And it's that glance that makes all the difference, right? Because the defense has to take that look seriously.
That pull did not land in bounds. The wind pushed it out the back. By the way, through 14 scores, we've had 7 goals scored by the O-lines, 7 goals scored by the D-lines.
And here we go with the wind dying down. Is this truly an upwind point at this point? Minnesota really hasn't had to work going this direction that much with their O-line.
Josh Clayton, the deepest receiver right there in that sequence.
Here's Rader to Brandt. Nice floater. Larson keeps it going, and Rader narrowly squeezes it past Swanson. And we got a call, it's a pick. That'll push Minnesota off the goal line. Stall count's going to be relatively high.
Yeah,
maybe
this is
4 or 5 here on Rader.
This is a tricky one because Carolina's setting the double. Minnesota's going upwind.
Rader with a prayer. Great block out by Ethan Bloodworth. And now he'll rip it deep. Multiple targets. And it's off Brandt's fingertips and just past Tucker.
And if right now, if Minnesota transitions to offense right away, instead of playing this slow, they have multiple options wide open. Instead, they're going to let Carolina set going upwind.
That's a tough balance to strike, right? Because Brandt wants to regain his composure and breath as the disc-dominant player, but there's also the strategic element to consider.
The Flyers also pretty much gave them the free first pass to Klain, even after he took a long time to get set. Isabel Fernandez adjusts. Closing in on 4 minutes to play in the half. Klain ripping it deep. End zone. Got it. Gordon Larson brings it in for Minnesota.
This is vintage Josh Klain right here. I talked about Tristan Van de Mortel's performance earlier, and the way Josh is unlocking upwind opportunities with his torque, with his snap, with his ability to cut through the wind, it's just so hard to articulate how difficult a throw like that is in these upwind directions and conditions.
It's been a Josh Klain kind of weekend. You know, the critique about Josh at times during his career is perhaps a little too huck-happy, but he's undeniably a fantastic thrower, always has been. And in these conditions where you need somebody to take those chances with no conscience, Klain's about as good of a choice as anyone in the league. Tobias Brooks rips another one, finding Mitchell. Terrence denied by Lacey. Quick restart to an open Madison. And he overthrows Vinoka. Easily intercepted by Fairfax.
Fairfax is taking off.
I think it's fair to say the wind has not completely died down. It is still a big factor. Brooks got it.
Unbelievable stuff from Elijah Long, because the previous possession for Minnesota, we saw Josh Klain step into a backhand and release it with that slightly inside-out edge. Right here, Elijah Long knifes an outside-in throw into those upwind conditions. That is a throw that normally can't hold its edge or can't travel too far and just dies and hits the turf, but he gets enough power and precision on it to finish off the execution as we get a look at the other turnovers earlier in the point.
Just an overthrow, not needed from Minnesota, and then you're right. I mean, I do think this is a sign, though, Evan, that the wind is dying down a little bit, at least in the last few minutes. We've seen multiple upwind scores, teams being able to work it and throw those hucks. Now, the one from Josh Klain was beautiful. That one, you're right, Ian. It is tough to throw that one upwind.
Wind chill possession with a 10-6 lead. 3 minutes to play, first half, 2024 UFA Championship game. Larson again puts it on the money. Taylor keeps it moving. This is Snyder now. He's doubled. It's a big double team. And he hammers over it to the open man. Taylor unmarked. He'll take the shot anyway. Snyder versus Fisher in the back of the end zone, and the Fisher wins it again.
Huge opportunity here to cut it to 3. After everything that's gone wrong, you can kind of see the two foes going against each other, matching each other's energy. It is an energy battle in these games, especially when you have the start that Carolina did. And I think the wind has died down now enough to where you can work this. You don't necessarily need to play the total field position, but sure, let it rip if it's there.
Yeah, I want to see Henry Fisher not behind the disc. He's got to start stretching right here.
Saner met by a double, quickly resets and gives and goes. Here's Alex Davis. Davis injured at the start of the season after rupturing his Achilles last fall. Timeout, Flyers, their final timeout of the half with 1:40 on the clock and a chance to cut the deficit back to 3.
It's the right call. Wayne Denarder's just waiting for Flo to stop. You have an opportunity here. It is huge. Recap in this first half, Evan. We almost saw a 5-0 lead from the wind chill. If you're the Flyers and you've reached halftime, you'd be so ecstatic to be down 3.
Shout out to all the fans here at Zions Bank Stadium. The locals here from Salt Lake City and the folks that have traveled from far and wide to be here.
So much respect for the Shredheads still showing up despite the fact that Salt Lake's not competing in this final phase of the season.
How about the traveling Minnesota crew? They have been the loudest fan base of the 4 teams here at championship weekend by far. Stall count rising. Tobias Brooks can't make the play on Laviolette's desperation shot. Missed opportunity there for Carolina.
I know we talk about wanting to avoid short field turnovers so much. I was just kind of surprised by that sequence from Laviolette because, you know, 1 was gone, option 2 was gone, and he had a free reset that he didn't even bother looking to, and the importance of narrowing the gap, I thought he would have opted for that, but guess not.
Beautiful find from Hansen to Vanny Mortel. He swings it from Mattis. Here's Shope. Vanny Mortel with 40 seconds. Timeout Minnesota. Wind chill. We'll get the O-line back out there with 38 ticks remaining before half. I feel like I just need to take a deep breath and try to process everything we've seen through these 2 quarters.
These games are a blur. They really are. As a coach, you come out of them. As a player, you come out of them. We'll see how Minnesota's feeling in the huddle.
Spice, you want Gordo on the rail and then your 2 are going to you 3.
Hey, if
they might double right away.
They come for short double. Get in the
Yeah, negative and wide, right?
Yeah, you can almost expect a double. Uber, you want to hold close. Probably
hard away.
Hey, be a little flat, but hard away. Score on 3. 1, 2, 3, score.
I love that huddle conversation. I don't know if you felt differently, Brian, but number 1, they had their primary look. Number 2, Max Logchamp was talking about what happens if Carolina throws a double, which it looks like is going to happen. And number 3, they talked about what was going to happen if they turn the disc over and what their mark needs to be.
Clock will stay at 38 seconds. It's a contact call on Bloodworth. 10 free yards for Klein. And now he'll shoot it deep. Quinn Snyder. Over the top! Skies over Grayson Sanner! The exclamation point to an incredible first half for the Minnesota Wind Chill.
Sometimes it's just about making plays, and Josh Klein can sling it, and Quinn Snyder can bring it down. That's the mismatch.
I mean, I feel like many of us on the analyst panel have been waiting for Quinn Snyder to arrive here at championship weekend to make his presence known, to be the playmaker that we've seen him be in bigger volumes and points of emphasis in seasons past, and that is a statement from the Canadian.
Josh Klein, Kristen Vanny Mortel, and Gordon Larson, all with 3 assists apiece. Minnesota leads by 5. Minutes ago, the Flyers had a chance to get it back within 3, and now Minnesota could stretch it to 6. Krennic intercepts the overthrow. Lefties it forward for Lacey. 12 seconds for Vinoka. Somehow gets it around the defender, and the Wind Chill add to their lead. Noah Hansen in the end zone with 4 seconds to go.
It's an overthrow, which you can't have to get a short field, and then you need to be desperate in these situations. And unfortunate for Tobias Brooks, it goes right through his hands as he tries to catch it in this wind. In Minnesota, it looked like it was going to be 3, and now it's 6. Ian, I'm stunned.
I'm speechless. That's why I'm not saying anything right now. James Pollard, if you caught any of our pregame show, is looking like a savant at the moment. I'm not sure.
I don't know he saw this coming, but he did pick Minnesota to win. Can something go right for the Flyers? No. Vinoka intercepts. The end of quarter prayer. Minnesota jumped out 8-2. The Flyers fought their way back, but Minnesota closes the half with back-to-back scores. 2 goals in the last 32 seconds of the half for the Chill. And the Central Division champs that no one gave. Well, from windy Salt Lake City, we welcome you back to rainy Houston, Texas, where we are still in a weather delay in Friday Night Frisbee presented by Pabst Light. The sky continues to light up a little too frequently to get the teams back on the field. It is a 12-10 lead for Madison with 2:22 to go in the third. And Ian Toner, we are still in wait-and-see mode, wondering whether we'll see a little bit more Frisbee tonight.
I've been waiting for this game to resume. I've been hoping for this game to resume. We saw these teams trade some punches back and forth, a couple 3-goal runs here and there, responses to adversity, but Mother Nature just not cooperating right now tonight.
If you have joined us late, hope you've enjoyed some looks at the 2024 UFA Championship game. Here's what happened earlier tonight. It was a back and forth first half. It was 4-all after 1. Madison got the 3 breaks in a row to make it 9-6 late in the first half and took half 9-7. Kai Marcus connecting there with Anthony Gutowski. That gave the Radicals an 11-10 lead with 4:50 to play in the third. And there have been a lot of close calls tonight. Some of the fans weathering the elements. Gutowski's been an important player for the Radicals. The Lightning has been an even more important player for the two teams here.
Yeah, both of these teams have had opportunities to seize even greater control of this game, but red zone efficiency has been a little bit off the mark, especially for Houston. 8 of 15 in the red zone for the Havoc, 9 of 13 in the red zone for the Radicals, and those are opportunities that both of those teams want back as they contemplate what could have been in the locker room and hope that somehow this storm passes over and we can find a way to resume.
Yeah, we're running out of time. We've basically been told that if there's any lightning after 10:15 p.m. local time, which is less than 30 minutes away, that basically puts the kibosh on resuming play. So the Houston Havoc are hopeful that the skies can clear soon enough for the teams to retake the field and have a shot to finish the final 14-plus minutes of this game. Madison Radicals, if we don't resume, will be declared the 12-10 winners. UFA rules stipulate that if you get through half of the game in a situation like this, the result does stand. And obviously Madison would get to 1-0, and they've got the Austin Soul coming up tomorrow. Ian, give me your quick thoughts on the Austin Soul. And obviously they lost some firepower from a year ago. No more Evan Switek, no more Mark Evans, but they still got Kyle Henke. They still got Jackson Potts and a lot of other talented players. The Armstrong brothers all had good nights a week ago here in Houston, and that's going to be 2 1-0 teams most likely tomorrow in the Texas Capitol.
I thought the story coming into this season was going to be all about what they lost and how much that was going to impair their ability to be competitive. And they came out and put together an incredible offensive performance in week 1 against this Havoc team. I think you talked earlier this week about how you noticed that Kyle Henke has just taken on a more poised, calm leadership role with this group. Not that he wasn't a leader in the past, but he doesn't have to take the big shot, make the outrageous play all the time. He can lead by example with calmer decision-making, and if that's something that he can instill throughout the rest of that group, that's going to be really important for a team that is going to be competing against a reinvigorated and reconfigured South Division without Dallas to beat up on anymore, because Los Angeles and San Diego are new and different opponents that they're going to have to face later in the year.
To quote Kyle Henke, he told me that, quote, clean offensive execution in Game 1 was far more satisfying than any personal stat line I could have conjured up. The selflessness to move the ball horizontally off the sideline or to someone with power position was my favorite part of our game. I get more excited about successfully swinging the disc off the sideline at stall 1 now than catching a goal. I guess that's what becoming a dad does to you, unquote. Kyle did become a dad for the first time in the offseason.
Growing up before our eyes. Just yesterday, he was on SportsCenter Top 10 throwing greatest across the field.
Yeah, he was certainly an incredible teenage phenom in this league when he joined as a young kid coming out of Texas Tech. And Kyle Henke continues to do good things with the Austin Soul, who will take on the Madison Radicals exclusively on WatchUFA.tv tomorrow night. It is an 11-game weekend across the UFA. There are 3 Sunday games as well, but the action starts tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern, Toronto and D.C., also Oakland and Seattle is 7 p.m. Eastern, then Carolina, Atlanta, 7:30 Eastern, Madison at Austin at 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock local. You also got Vegas and Salt Lake at 9 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Mountain. You also have the Aviators and the Growlers. That's a 9:30 Eastern time opening pull. That wraps the Saturday schedule. 3 games Sunday. Toronto's at Philly starting at 2 p.m. Oakland is at Oregon at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. Quick turnaround for the Spiders after the early evening game in Seattle to play at noon Pacific time at Oregon. And also San Diego and L.A. will rematch. They play Saturday in San Diego and Sunday in L.A. Let's take a quick look at Adam Ruffner's power rankings through the end of Week 1. He's still got the Minnesota Wind Chill, the reigning champs, at the top. The Wind Chill will take the field for the first time this season next week. And you see the biggest movers from last week, the Philadelphia Phoenix from number 19 to number 12. The Oakland Spiders up 5 spots into the top 6. And D.C. and New York both losing in Week 1 and dropping a little bit. What's one team in this top 12 that you think is overrated and one team in the top 12 that you think is underrated?
Wow, you're really putting me on the spot here, huh? I'm going to say Seattle's a little overrated in that position. I think losing Khalif El-Salam and replicating the magic that they caught last year is going to be a little more challenging than what they have on paper might suggest. Certainly can be eating those words later. A team that's a little underrated on that list, I feel, might be Salt Lake. They lost a ton more than Seattle did, and yet they still looked unbelievably competitive, even with a lot of youth in the picture there. Going against Atlanta, you were there at Silverback Stadium last weekend. That group has fight, it has energy, it has athleticism, and I think that's a group that it's not the 2022 team that kind of turned it over a little too much. They're in a little bit of a more refined state with all of that athleticism and excitement and young enthusiasm. And I think Bryce Merrill and company are going to find a way to continue to harness that group and energy and sharpen their sword.
Yeah, if I'm going to answer my own question, I think, 3 teams in this top 5 I would drop pretty significantly, and I would drop Minnesota, Chicago, and Carolina, 1, 3, and 5. We haven't seen anything from Minnesota and Chicago yet this season. I understand why you got the Wind Chill number 1 as the reigning champs. Chicago, this weekend right now, tomorrow and Sunday, are going to be their first full practice weekends as a whole team.
Yeah.
They're still 2 weeks away from taking the field in Minnesota a couple weeks from tomorrow. And the Carolina Flyers, look, I expect them to lose by a crooked number at Atlanta tomorrow. They could certainly prove me wrong, but I think the roster that they're bringing and how crisp the hustle were last week, I would envision Carolina to stumble. And I think they're overrated as the 5th team right now, but I certainly expect them to be one of the best 5 or 6 teams in the league by the time we get toward the playoffs a couple months from now.
I wish I could disagree with you, but that take just makes too much sense to me.
And, yeah, I'm curious. Toronto is currently just outside of that top 12, sitting at number 13. They got opportunities this weekend. Arvids Karklins and Simone Gasparini and Connor McHale all making their UFA debuts, along with Tom Blasman and Tom Zabaltines and Marty Gallant coming over to the Rush. I'm just really excited to see what Toronto looks like at DC and at Philly. They could go 0-2 and still be in an okay position if they look good doing it, but they also have opportunities against a couple teams with really different emotional circumstances in the Breeze and the Phoenix that they see tomorrow and Sunday respectively.
Yeah, the Breeze kind of have to turn it on. They have to respond and show that they are an East Division powerhouse and that everything hasn't fallen off since last year's championship weekend appearance. And Philadelphia, it's not like they're playing with house money, but I think I've heard you and maybe Adam Ruffner as well articulate, even if they don't beat Toronto, but they put up a really competitive performance, that still bodes well for what they can accomplish over the rest of the course of the season. And, of course, Philadelphia, as we mentioned earlier in the broadcast, gets the benefit of facing Toronto on the second part of that back-to-back.
If you missed it, here's a look at some of the DC-Philly highlights. Jacques Nissen, past several seasons, he's been kind of a part-time player for the Breeze, joining after the college season concluded in late May. But Jacques finishing his college career with Brown as a national champion last May in the lineup for DC, certainly with a big role with Johnny Malks stepping away from the squad. But what about Sean Mott and Scott Heyman? These two guys were so good playing together, and this Philadelphia team just made one play after another. It was Nate Little defensively early in the game. This play from Campanella, denying Kevin Healy on the deep shot in the third quarter. And Philly felt really good about like 40 minutes of the 48 that they played.
Yeah.
They still tried to give the game away, but this is potentially a franchise-changing win for the Philadelphia Phoenix.
I can't disagree with you, and I really want to see how they follow it up over the course of this weekend and the coming weeks. It's just funny. It's not a true addition by subtraction, because I'm sure they would absolutely love to have James Pollard and Greg Owens and talents like that still on their roster, but this group has just taken that next man up mentality and embodied it through the opening stanza of this season.
Saw Andrew Roy throwing the assist there. Breeze are going to be without A. Roy for their Toronto game tomorrow. A. Roy, like many of the Carolina Flyers who are absent, will be attending Saul Yannick's wedding. Congratulations to Saul on that occasion. I also can report that the reason Matt Bennett's not here tonight, he's attending Chris Larberg's wedding out in Portland this weekend. So it's a big weekend for former UFA champions Saul Yannick and Chris Larberg on different sides of the country. Meanwhile, Scott Heyman making plays in the deep space. That made it 16-12, all Philly, until the Phoenix started to Phoenix a little bit late. And we've seen this before from Philadelphia, which is why you can't be all in on Philly going forward. But even though they give this disc away, Philly had the disc up 3 with like a minute 40 to go, and yet DC does get back within 1. Healy leaves it for Wodach. So Nissen to Wodach makes it a 1-goal game, and the Phoenix at this point, they know what's going through their minds. I mean, they've been here before, and this was a Theo Shapinski clap catch away from overtime.
This is several sequences ago, but I just loved Scott Heyman turning back to Charlie McCutcheon and yelling, "You can't guard me," after he caught that deep goal on him.
David Brandolph, Bill Maroon, and the Philadelphia Phoenix are 1-0. just the second time in the last 11 years that Philly starts the season 1-0. Their only other season opening victory came against the Tampa Bay Cannons in 2021 in the Atlantic Division. You think how many times the Phoenix have started with an ugly loss to New York or an ugly loss to D.C. Phillies 1-0. They try to get to 2-0 on Sunday. The other big surprise from opening weekend was the New York Empire falling in Oakland. The Empire starting 0-1 for the first time since 2018. This was the season opening game across the entire Ultimate Frisbee Association, Ian, last Thursday night. I know you were watching. What impressed you most about what you saw from the Oakland Spiders team that clearly has improved significantly from a year ago?
I mean, this team still plays aggressive defense, but it's got an offensive flair and capability and consistency that it didn't really have last year. And a big part of that is Leo Gordon, his chemistry with the likes of Walker Frankenberg, who of course was a part of the program and has been prior to this season. But I'm impressed with their defensive intensity and just the offense's ability to get into a rhythm and operate really well against an Empire unit that has long been regarded as one of the stronger defenses in the league. Of course, that Empire roster experiencing a bunch of turnover in and of itself coming into this season as well, but those are things that stand out and impress me when I look back on Oakland's opening victory.
Robin Vickers-Batzdorf fouled from behind by John Randolph here. It was a confusing sequence because they actually ruled that the D happened and then the foul came after the block, so New York got the disc. But anyway, this 5.5-minute point to start the third quarter, New York, it's a 4.5-minute point, excuse me. New York had 5 chances, and on the 5th break chance, the Spiders punched it in with Seamus Robinson, and then the Spiders kind of pulled away from there. One of the 5 assists from Leo Gordon. How much fun was he to watch in his UFA debut? Jacques Nissen's old Brown teammate.
I'm with you in the idea that that performance is his opening salvo for being considered as an MVP candidate.
Max Shepard to the corner for Everest Shapiro. 2 Empire newcomers collaborating here. That's Pittsburgh to LA if we're talking their teams from 2024. Empire back within 1 with 7.5 minutes to play on, again, the Shepard Scuber to Shapiro. This break chance from Shepard just slightly misread a little bit by Shapiro. He ended up jamming his wrist on the ground on that play. Did not take the field on Saturday or Friday in Vegas. And on the turnaround, it was Oakland finding Sawyer Thompson. That extended the lead to 3. And the Empire were not done. Another chance here to get back within 1. And I'll tell you, Ian, when they had the disc here, I think in my mind, all right, we're going to overtime. Like, they're going to punch this in. Oakland's going to falter. But no, the Spiders steady enough down the stretch. Dylan Whited just hanging out in the back of the end zone. Evan Madzig pumps his fist. And the Spiders pull away late, winning it 22-17. I think I called it the Spiders' biggest win since the 2015 championship game when Oakland beat Madison, as a matter of fact, 10 years ago.
Hard to argue with you. This is a franchise that once captured league glory and hasn't really been anywhere close anywhere since then, but there's some really promising signs through 1 week of play so far.
Well, the Spiders will try to get to 2-0 tomorrow, exclusively on WatchUFA.tv against the Seattle Cascades. And then next Friday night, week 3 of Friday Night Frisbee.
Can't wait for that one.
Back at Fremont High School in Oakland, where the wind is often as inconsistent and strange as it is here in Houston typically, as we welcome you back to the wet SaberCat Stadium. We are hopeful to get some sort of an official word here shortly. But, yeah, I mean, I'm curious in the Ian Toner Perception Index how you view the West Division right now. I know you live in Colorado. You cover their games regularly. Do you have the Summit as the favorite in the West? Did you get swayed by what you saw from Oakland or Salt Lake last week? You've said you're a little skeptical of the Khalif El Salam-less Seattle Cascades. Where do you see the West going?
I think on paper, if Colorado shows up and plays to its potential, I think Colorado's the favorite. That being said, what we've seen so far from Oakland is incredibly compelling and impressive. And on paper, they've also brought a lot of talent in the Bay Area back into the fold that wasn't necessarily a part of the program in years past. So I'm my biased evaluation, I'm going to say Colorado 1, Oakland 2, Salt Lake 3, Seattle 4. And mind you, we still have yet to see Seattle play a game this season. We need to see Colorado get tested against real competition. I'm sorry, Oregon, I'm not really worried about offending you in that comment. You did get doubled up last weekend.
Yes.
That's kind of how I'm feeling. And I mean, do we need to talk about Vegas? It's great to have them in the league. I hope there's a bright future ahead. This is just not the year for them. They need some more time to get more talent on board and cultivate the talent and grow the talent that they do have, much like Houston has been doing here for the last couple seasons.
We will see if Vegas can keep it competitive for a quarter or so against Salt Lake.
Okay, now you need to tell me how you see the West Division right now.
Yeah, well, the perception that you stated and the hierarchy is exactly what I had in my mind as well.
Really?
Colorado, Oakland, Salt Lake, and Seattle was my preseason thoughts. As for where I stand right now, I'm tempted. I was really impressed with Salt Lake. Just the way that they attacked Atlanta, a team that I have immense respect for, in the number of athletes and experience that they have. Like, there were guys for Salt Lake playing their first UFA game that did not look like rookies. They are young and raw and hungry and just interesting. And I think, Bryce Merrill has some interesting decisions coming up of whether he keeps Chad Jorgensen and Will Selfridge playing on offense together. But I think right now that's obviously the right move because those two guys are a dynamic duo. And, it's allowed Jordan Kerr to be a little bit more of a filler and have a little bit less responsibility, which takes a little pressure off his shoulders and just lets him do his thing. What is Colorado going to look like with Tobias Brooks? That is a huge question for the West Division.
We've
never seen it before.
Exactly, and he's got a lot of other obligations as well between his college commitments and Team USA U24 commitments. Right. So it may be quite some time before he can get fully integrated as part of that Summit group. It's a great question. It's a relevant question. I still think there's enough talent on this Summit team to be a really top-level threatening offense without him there. But yes, if he comes back into the fold late June, late July, yeah, he should take that offense to another level. As we take another look at Colorado's performance against Oregon last weekend, how about the decision by the coaching staff to deploy Alex Atkins basically exclusively on defense? You can see what he can do after the turn, just effortlessly get play started, throwing around and over double teams, and his massive mark and frame were instrumental in multiple blocks last weekend, like the one we just saw right there.
Tell me about Hunter May, who had 3 goals, 2 assists, and 2 blocks with no turns, finishing +7 in his UFA debut for the Summit.
Coach Tim Kafalis told me he was Alex Atkins' favorite deep target in preseason practices and scrimmages. So great to see them developing chemistry and wreaking havoc on opposing O-lines after the turn. And you can see that there's unbelievable athleticism that's just there. And he was just able to anticipate in the downfield cutting lanes, get an underneath block on the big pro field, which was really impressive, and also stretch the field after the turnover. I think he's going to be a problem for a lot of O-lines in the West Division who have to just be focused on executing themselves, but he's a big body, and he's going to create some matchup problems on a turnover.
Sure fun to see former Madison Radical Jay Fruit throwing his body around like that in his mid-30s. One of the great players in the history of the league. And, yeah, I mean, I think one of the reasons that I lean towards Colorado, nice athleticism there from Kai Marshall trying to keep that in bounds at the end of the quarter. You know, Quinn Finer, and you know better than I, looks healthy compared to last year in particular. And, you know, despite how good Leo Gordon was and how dynamic Will Selfridge was, it's very possible Quinn Finer is still the best player of anybody in the West Division.
I'm with you. It's entirely possible. And the thing is, when this offense is operating at full capacity and efficiency, it doesn't need to be the Quinn Finer show. He's got so much talent and complementary pieces around him that this group knows how to share the load. This group knows how to distribute. And Quinn's a great player. He can win a ton of matchups. He can distribute well. If he has to do that, great. But even if he has to be someone who takes a matchup out of the way so there's more space open for a Noah Kuhlman to attack, he can do that. I don't know. I think the world of him. I think he's capable of all kinds of stuff, and I'm excited to see what more he can accomplish. Healthy full season ahead.
Curious, did you talk to Timmy Purston before or after the Oregon game?
I did catch up with him beforehand.
What's his outlook on the season?
There's a new level of commitment for the players who are a part of this Oregon Steel program now that they've rebranded from the Portland Nitro. You know, I think he was pretty candid in saying that in years past, the guys on this roster thought that the real accomplishment was making the roster and being a part of the team. And now they realize, hey, that's just barely stepping through the door. The real accomplishment is staying committed to the culture and buying in and being there throughout the rest of the season and being a great teammate and growing the program.
Excited to see Lucas Conieris make his Oregon Steel debut on Sunday against the Oakland Spiders. He is expected to be on the field there. We are still in a weather delay, and I think we are about 4 minutes away from an official update as the Madison Radicals lead the Houston Havoc 12-10. This game has been in delay for well over an hour now, and we are counting down the minutes until we get that update. Obviously, we saw the Colorado Summit. They will be here in Texas next weekend, and that's a really interesting road trip. You know, 2 games I think you could consider Colorado the favorite in, but not going to be easy games by any means. You don't pencil in wins in the Texas heat or the Texas wind or in the Texas thunderstorms. No matter, you never know what you're going to get here in Texas.
Yeah, I agree with you, and especially the way that we saw Houston respond to adversity tonight. That team could go down 2-0 against Colorado, and we know that they are capable of finding their footing and not just folding and collapsing and being a resilient opponent.
And obviously, aside from Colorado and Oakland and Seattle, the other team that we're talking about is Salt Lake. Salt Lake takes on Vegas this weekend. They had Atlanta last weekend. We're picking up the game deep in the third quarter here. And Salt Lake finding Selfridge for the equalizer. It was 16 all, and Selfridge showing off his golfing skills. Would you be surprised if he was like a scratch golfer?
Not one bit.
How athletic he was. I know you said that his block in the first quarter was one of the more impressive blocks you've seen on Lucas McClamrock.
I mean, when you come from behind the receiver and go from one shoulder back to the front side of the opposite shoulder, that's just, yeah, sorry.
No, you're good.
That block is just, it's one of the most impressive blocks in Ultimate. I feel like the first time I really saw it was in a USA Ultimate Club game when Dylan Freechild, who previously suited up with the Dallas Roughnecks, did so for Portland Rhino against Texas Double Wide. But seeing Selfridge execute it on the larger pro field, just incredible stuff, and he's got an unbelievable future ahead too.
All-time goal-scoring leader in the UFA, Cameron Brock, in his Atlanta Hustle debut after a dozen years wearing the AlleyCats green and white. To the end zone there. Chad Jorgensen makes it a one-goal game, and I mean this game from start to finish just had an edge and an intensity to it. It was fiercely contested, very physical, and just everybody recognized that possession was at a premium. I do like Adam Miller on offense. He's a really talented engineer of offense, and led the D-line for a long time. And I was worried a little bit, did the Hustle D-line lose a little punch without him? But no, they clearly still got some panache to him. This left the door open for Salt Lake, back within one with 2.5 to play. But the Salt Lake Shred just did not have quite enough to get back into it following this Jordan Kerr assist. As Atlanta calmly maneuvered down the field, Christian Olsen to Adam Miller. Hayden Austin Knabb. You just watched him during warm-ups, and he looks in a different level of shape. And something Tuba Benson Jaja mentioned to me in the preseason. He's like, Hayden's a totally different player this year.
Whoa.
And I saw just his calves in warm-ups were different. That's what I do during warm-ups. I check out everybody's calves.
You're not checking pronunciations or anything.
It's called being a professional. One final score for Cam Brock, and that was all she wrote last Saturday night in Atlanta. So the Hustle will retake the field in the game of the week tomorrow night at Silverback Stadium against the Carolina Flyers. Salt Lake back in action at home against the Vegas Bighorns. Believe it is the only non-Friday home game for the Shred. We got 3 different Friday night Frisbees at Zions Bank Stadium, the first of which is 4 weeks from tonight when Seattle visits again after playing at championship weekend on the Shred's home turf after they knocked them out of that championship weekend opportunity a couple weeks earlier.
I'm pretty sure Oakland visits Colorado that same Friday night as well. So a couple West Division tussles unfolding at the same time.
Well, unfortunately, that lightning bolt that just emerged over the SaberCat Stadium sign came after 10:15 local, and we are told that they just officially called this game, so it is now a final. The Madison Radicals are 1-0 after a weather-shortened victory, 12-10 over the Houston Havoc, and it's unfortunate for both teams, but especially for Houston. They played valiantly for most of this game. Anything could have happened in the final 14 minutes that were still on the clock, and unfortunately they won't get a chance. But, they were down 9-7 at the half. They tied it at 10-all. The last 2 goals for Madison turned out to be the difference in the game.
Yeah, and we were talking in the opening stanza of the third quarter before the rain delay or weather delay or lightning delay was instituted that these points were becoming more and more pressure packed with that threat looming. And fortunately for Houston, not able to claw back, and every point mattering right there out of halftime.
Yeah, it was about an hour and 39 minutes ago or so that we were last playing Frisbee. And unfortunately, Friday Night Frisbee, presented by Pabst Light, comes to a close in a weather-shortened affair. Madison 12, Houston 10 to cap our Week 2 coverage here at SaberCat Stadium. If you're interested in watching the second half of the 2024 UFA Championship game, you can find it on YouTube, on the UFA YouTube page, along with much more content. And don't forget, make sure you got your WatchUFA.tv subscription ready to go for the game of the week tomorrow night. The Carolina Flyers and the Atlanta Hustle, part of this 11-game Week 2 in the UFA. Thanks for bearing with us through the weather. We wish we had more live Frisbee to show to you, but unfortunately, Mother Nature has intervened tonight here in Houston. Next week, Friday Night Frisbee from Oakland, California, the Cascades and the Spiders with Ian Toner and Katie Killebrew. But for now, for our entire crew, we say so long from Houston. For Ian Toner, I'm Evan Lepler. Stay dry, everybody.